Chapter 462. Artifacts Palace. Refining Flames Palace. Qin Yu felt his heart fiercely jump. The status of the master of the bewitching god temple in the divine realm was something that Qin Yu was able to guess. How astonishing would all the treasures left behind by such a person be? The palace opposite the front palace is the Artifacts Palace. The palace on the left side of the courtyard is called the Transfer Palace. The palace on the right side is called the Refining Flames Palace. Uncle Fu pointed to the three palaces and explained. Qin Yu's gaze was involuntarily cast toward the three palaces. The entrance to the Transfer Palace was wide open. Should be very easy to enter. However, the entrance to the Artifacts Palace and the Refining Flames Palace were tightly closed. Master's artifact crafting ability could be said to be unparalleled in the entire divine realm. Among them, the Refining Flames Palace is the place where Master would usually craft artifacts. This Refining Flames Palace contains Master's artifact crafting experience. There are also many tools for crafting artifacts and so on inside, said Uncle Fu with a smile. The gaze that Qin Yu looked at the Refining Flames Palace with immediately became blazing hot. Qin Yu knew very well that regardless of whether it was the divine realm, the immortal, devil and demon realm or the mortal realm, strength reigned supreme. In a world where strength reigns supreme, one could imagine how revered the status of a master who possessed the best artifact crafting ability would be. Cheho Yuan had also said that there were God King level experts who had come to ask him for help in crafting Grand Mist spiritual treasures. When one reached Cheho Yuan's level of artifact crafting, even God Kings would sometimes come to ask for help. One could imagine Cheho Yuan's status. If I were to learn this artifact crafting ability, the difficulty of making Li Er my wife ought to be much lower. Qin Yu's heart began to fluctuate. Qin Yu also understood that although he had obtained the artifact crafting experience, he would still need to spend a large amount of time to comprehend it in order to become an artifact crafting master. However, if he did not have this artifact crafting experience, then no matter how hard he worked, it would still be very difficult for him to obtain great accomplishments in artifact crafting. After all, the people at the pinnacle of all trades and professions were not only people who needed to work hard, they also needed to possess heavenly talent. Uncle Fu continued. Although there aren't many treasures in the Refining Flames Palace, it contains Master's artifact crafting experience. Thus, it could be considered as the most important place in the bewitching God Temple. There are two requirements to open the Refining Flames Palace. What requirements? Qin Yu blurted out. Even someone as calm as he was unable to suppress his thirst for the artifact crafting experience. Master once said that only his disciples are qualified to inherit the Refining Flames Palace. Therefore, there are two requirements for opening the Refining Flames Palace. The first is, the true flame in your body must have reached the white pure flame realm. Uncle Fu said with a faint smile. White pure fire. Qin Yu felt his heart stop for a moment before he recovered. What level of flame is the white pure fire? Uncle Fu explained. Under normal circumstances, the primordial fire of a god is the black primordial fire, and the primordial fire of an Empyrean god is the white primordial fire. And to learn Master's refining method, even the entry requirement is white pure fire. The flame required to enter the sect was white pure fire. Qin Yu felt bitter in his heart. This weapon refining Grandmaster's refining experience was indeed precious, but the requirements to learn it were also shockingly abnormal. Fortunately, his stellar transformations cultivation technique was also special. Now that he was at the origin realm, his true fire was a black divine flame. Qin Yu suddenly thought in his heart. This Cheho Yuan had once said that the bewitching God Temple would block the people from the divine realm. How could someone who has not reached the deity realm have a white pure fire? Uncle Fu seemed to have guessed what Qin Yu was thinking. He continued. Master had already thought that it was impossible for the true flames of the people of the immortal, devil and demon realm to be white pure fire. Thus, he moved an item from the Refining Flames Palace to the Artifacts Palace. Qin Yu stared at Uncle Fu. What's in the Artifacts Palace? Qin Yu asked. There are a lot of things hidden in the artifact's palace. For example, there are some precious refining materials. Master's refining materials are all placed in the artifact's palace. At the same time, there are also some heavenly divine artifacts and even some acquired Grand Mist spiritual treasures. Uncle Fu said solemnly. Even though he was already prepared, Qin Yu still couldn't help but look toward the artifact's palace again. Cheho Yuan's refining materials. Precious heavenly divine artifacts. Precious acquired Grand Mist spiritual treasures. The artifact's palace is where all kinds of Master's treasures are hidden. You still have the opportunity to obtain them, said Uncle Fu with a smile. There are a lot of things in the artifact's palace. It's also very complicated. There are also precious items like divine spirit crystal souls. There are even some machines refined by Master and so on. Qin Yu nodded his head. It seemed that practically all of the treasures of the bewitching God Temple were hidden in the artifact's palace. As for the refining flames palace, there were only some refining experiences and some tools. Qin Yu suddenly asked. Uncle Fu, you said earlier that the master of the bewitching God Temple had moved an item from the refining flames palace to the artifact's palace. What was it? Qin Yu had a premonition that the item that was moved would not be ordinary. Uncle Fu smiled and said, "It was 9 purple origin flame beads." 9 purple origin flame beads. What are purple origin flame beads? Qin Yu was puzzled. He had never heard of something like purple origin flame beads. Uncle Fu explained. The purple origin flame beads are 9 flame beads born from the world. They can be considered as innate Grand Mist spiritual treasures. Since they were Grand Mist spiritual treasures, they shouldn't be bad. Qin Yu thought in his heart. However, the purple origin flame beads can only be considered as third-rate Grand Mist spiritual treasures. In terms of preciousness, they are inferior to your high-quality heavenly divine artifact, the divine spear waning snow, said Uncle Fu with a light smile. Qin Yu nodded his head thoughtfully. He knew about this. Grand Mist spiritual treasures only represented that they contained Grand Mist spiritual energy. Their might not necessarily be stronger than heavenly divine artifacts. It also depended on the level of the Grand Mist spiritual treasure. A third-rate Grand Mist spiritual treasure like this could not be considered much. Uncle Fu's tone suddenly changed. He said, "However, the 9 purple origin flame beads were refined by Master. I don't know what sort of method he used, but Master managed to connect the 9 purple origin flame beads into one. Their might increased greatly and at the same time, they became the core of the entire bewitching God Temple." The core. Qin Yu felt as if he had thought of something. Uncle Fu nodded. That's right. These 9 purple origin flame beads were in the refining flames palace in the past. That's because the fire energy extracted from them would allow Master to refine artifacts more easily. This time, when Master left, he placed these 9 purple origin flame beads in the artifact's palace. As long as you refine these 9 purple origin flame beads into your body, the entire bewitching God Temple will be yours. The entire bewitching God Temple belongs to you. Qin Yu couldn't help but feel joyous. This is rather similar to the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. The Qingyu Immortal Mansion also has a core of elemental spirit essence. This bewitching God Temple also has a core. Master had once told me that it's difficult to open the refining flames palace. As long as you are able to open the artifact's palace and refine the 9 purple origin flame beads, you'll be considered to have obtained the bewitching God Temple. You can carry the bewitching God Temple with you. When your strength reaches a certain level, you'll naturally be able to open the refining flames palace, said Uncle Fu. Qin Yu suddenly recalled a matter. Uncle Fu, earlier you said that there are 2 great requirements to open the refining flames palace. You said one of them is that one's true flame must reach the white pure flame realm. What's the other one? Qin Yu suddenly asked. The difficulty of the second one is too great. Uncle Fu sighed. When your true flame reaches the white pure flame realm, you'll be able to open the entrance of the refining flames palace. However, after entering the Refining Flames Palace, you'll encounter 3 great formations. You must break through all 3 of them. The second requirement is that your understanding of the Divine Realm's formation arrays and barriers must reach an extremely high level. Qin Yu was speechless. Formation arrays and barriers. Qin Yu knew that this was his greatest weakness. That was because the amount of time he had spent training was truly too short. As for formation arrays and barriers, they were the ones that required the most time to study. The requirement of the Refining Flames Palace was that one must have a great understanding of the Divine Realm's formation arrays and barriers. As for the current Qin Yu, his understanding of the immortal, devil and demon realms' formation arrays and barriers was only at the elementary level. What level is the illusion array outside the bewitching god temple? Qin Yu asked. That's merely the most elementary level of the divine illusion array. Qin Yu, just imagine even people from the immortal, devil and demon realm like you are able to enter the divine illusion array. How elementary is this formation array? Uncle Fu said indifferently. This formation array was casually set up by Master in order to prevent people from the immortal, devil and demon realm from continuously disturbing the bewitching god temple. Qin Yu took a long breath and then smiled. Forget about it. For the time being, I don't want to think about opening the Refining Flames Palace anymore. I'll open the Artifacts Palace first. In the courtyard, Qin Yu and Uncle Fu walked to the entrance of the Artifacts Palace. The entrance of the Artifacts Palace was dark red in color. This entrance was not a double-closed door. In order to open this entrance, one could only open the entrance by slowly raising the entrance. Master had once said that the requirements to open the entrance of the Artifacts Palace are not high. The first requirement is to use one's divine awareness to find the mechanism of the entrance. As for the second requirement, after you find the mechanism I'll tell you. Uncle Fu looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu confidently spread out his divine awareness. Qin Yu's divine awareness carefully covered the entire entrance, carefully inspecting every place. Again, nothing was gained. Just a reminder, the mechanism is on top of the entrance, said Uncle Fu indifferently. Qin Yu nodded his head. Then, he began to search even more carefully. Over and over again, the entrance was only that big. Qin Yu searched a couple of times without finding anything. Amen. Qin Yu's divine awareness locked onto 2 places below the entrance. Earlier, when his divine awareness swept past those 2 places, he felt that something was unusual. What are those 2 places for? A divine sword appeared in Qin Yu's hand. Qin Yu used the divine sword to knock on those 2 places. The origin energy within Qin Yu's body also passed through the divine sword and shot into those 2 places. Immediately, cyan rays of light shot out from those 2 places. At the same time, 2 protrusions emerged from those 2 places on the entrance. Very good. You've completed the first of the 2 requirements to open the Artifacts Palace. I originally thought that your soul was at the Soul Jindan realm. Seems that your soul has already reached the nascent soul realm, said Uncle Fu with a smile. Qin Yu looked at Uncle Fu with a puzzled expression. Soul nascent soul realm. Uncle Fu, you said that my soul has reached the nascent soul realm? Qin Yu asked again. Uncle Fu said matter-of-factly. As far as I know, in order to find the mechanism in the hidden room, one's soul must be at the level of a high-level deity. In order to find the mechanism, one's soul must be at the nascent soul realm. If you haven't reached the nascent soul realm, how could you find the mechanism? Qin Yu nodded his head to show that he understood. This Uncle Fu, is he not a heavenly deity expert? Qin Yu was puzzled. Qin Yu knew very well that he was only at the Soul Jindan realm. The reason why he was able to find the mechanism was most likely due to the assistance of Lu Xing's tears, which made it easier for his soul power to search. If Uncle Fu is a heavenly deity expert, he should be able to discover my soul realm. But if he can't, then he's not a heavenly deity. But I can't detect Uncle Fu's aura at all. What's going on? Qin Yu was puzzled. With Qin Yu's current soul realm, if he was a deity, Qin Yu would definitely be able to detect it. Qin Yu couldn't help but be puzzled. Qin Yu, you've found this mechanism. These two protrusions have also appeared. Now what you need to do is to grab these two protrusions with both hands and use your own strength to pull up the door," said Uncle Fu. Qin Yu woke up from his pondering. Pull up the entire stone door. Qin Yu confidently walked to the two protrusions. These two protrusions were only a foot above the ground. The distance between the two protrusions was just enough for Qin Yu to grab them with both hands. Qin Yu grabbed the two protrusions and suddenly exerted force with both hands. "Ha!" Qin Yu shouted, and the muscles on his arms bulged. But the door didn't move at all. You can use your physical strength or the energy within your body. You just need to open the door," Uncle Fu said from the side. At this moment, Qin Yu was half squatting, and his hands were firmly grabbing the two protrusions. 9 Transformations Force, Gold Force, Origin Force. Qin Yu poured all of his strength into his hands. Qin Yu's muscle strength was pushed to the limit, and Qin Yu's face turned red. "Rise!" Qin Yu roared. This was Qin Yu's strongest strength. Qin Yu's muscles started to tremble. One could clearly see his muscles bulging. However, the door merely slightly trembled and did not have any reaction. To be able to make the door tremble, it means, as long as your strength increases to 3 times your current strength, I reckon you'll be able to pull up the entire door, Uncle Fu said from the side. Qin Yu placed the protrusion down in a discouraged manner. According to Master's settings, in order to open the door, one must reach the strength of a low-level heavenly deity. In order to find the mechanism, one's soul must reach the level of a low-level heavenly deity. Master had said that one must at least reach this level in order to possess the qualifications to possess the bewitching God Temple. Uncle Fu slowly said, "Low-level heavenly deity." Qin Yu was surprised. His strength was only a third of a low-level heavenly deity. Your soul is at the level of a nascent soul. If you continue to work hard, you should be able to increase your strength to the level of a low-level heavenly deity, Uncle Fu said. Qin Yu was once again puzzled. "Uncle Fu, do you have a soul?" Qin Yu suddenly asked. Qin Yu was unable to think of any reason to explain the fact that he was unable to sense the slightest trace of Uncle Fu's aura. There was only a single possibility. Uncle Fu did not have a soul. However, was it possible for a person to not have a soul? Uncle Fu looked to Qin Yu in shock. He then calmed down, smiled and said, "You've managed to tell. That's right, I do not have a soul." Chapter 463. Since he could not sense Uncle Fu's aura, Uncle Fu's strength should be far above his. However, Uncle Fu was unable to sense his true strength. Seemed contradictory. Qin Yu could only think of one possibility. Uncle Fu did not have a soul. However, Qin Yu could not believe this conclusion. Thus he blurted out a question. However, Uncle Fu's answer shocked Qin Yu. "Uncle Fu, you really don't have a soul?" Qin Yu asked again to confirm. Uncle Fu smiled and nodded. "Yes, I don't. Why is it strange? How could that be? The most important thing for a human is the soul. How could a human exist without a soul?" Qin Yu refuted. Even a deity would die without a soul. Uncle Fu smiled and asked back, "Did I say that I'm a human?" Qin Yu was stunned. "Uncle Fu, what do you mean?" Uncle Fu sighed and said, "I'm not a human. I'm a puppet refined by my master. Merely as a puppet I belong to the higher class." Puppet. Qin Yu listened carefully. In the divine realm, there are some weapon refining experts who are highly skilled in refining weapons. They can directly refine a body. However, with some simple wisdom they become a puppet. Uncle Fu shook his head and smiled. Merely refining a puppet is extremely difficult. Firstly, refining a human body is difficult. Secondly, imparting wisdom is relatively difficult. Qin Yu suddenly recalled his master Lei Wei's hometown, the technological universe where Earth was located. "I know of a cosmic space on the same level as the mortal realm. There is a kind of technological existence in that cosmic space. There is an intelligent existence in that cosmic space. Qin Yu said. Uncle Fu shook his head and said carelessly, "When I was in the divine realm, I also knew of the existence of technological universes. They were merely ordinary universes on the same level as the mortal realm. They used some external matter to research the universe. That's really very low level. As far as I know, there is no technological universe that can break through the bindings of the mortal realm and reach the same level as the immortal devil and demon realm." Qin Yu nodded. It would be difficult to achieve anything by only relying on external force and not cultivating one's own body. And that kind of intelligence is also very low level. Has no emotions and no self-awareness. Just very low level. As for the puppets, created by the experts of the deity realm, they appear to be no different from humans on the surface. Uncle Fu said. Indeed. From his conversation with Uncle Fu, Qin Yu could feel that Uncle Fu was almost as intelligent as a human. "Uncle Fu, how can a puppet possess intelligence?" Qin Yu asked. Uncle Fu shook his head and said, "I'm not too sure about this. Even in the God realm, there aren't many people who know how to refine puppets. In the God realm, those who have puppets as servants are all big shots with status and power." Qin Yu suddenly remembered something. Uncle Fu, look. With a thought from Qin Yu, the sword immortal golem that Uncle Lon had bestowed upon him back then flew out from Qin Yu's body. "Is this the golem you mentioned?" Qin Yu still remembered that back when Uncle Lon gave this to him, he had said that it was a sword immortal puppet. "This is a golem." Uncle Fu immediately became certain. After looking at it for a long time, he said, "The materials used for this golem cannot be considered precious. The toughness of its body is also not very strong. Merely, the expert who created this golem possessed extremely high craftsmanship. Using some ordinary materials, he actually managed to produce such a result." "How strong is this golem?" Qin Yu asked. Uncle Fu said indifferently, "Its entire body's skeleton can be considered tough. I reckon it's comparable to a low-quality heavenly divine artifact. However, its muscles can only be considered to be ordinary. However, I feel that this golem's skeleton and muscles complement each other very well. It was refined extremely well. There are not many experts in the God realm who are capable of refining golems like this." Uncle Lon had followed the master of the bewitching God temple, Che-Ho Yuan, for all these years. Thus he knew a lot of things. However, this golem does not possess intelligence. Uncle Fu was a bit puzzled. "I believe that for an expert to be able to refine such a harmonious body, it shouldn't be hard for him to bestow some simple intelligence to it." Qin Yu was suddenly enlightened. The golem that Uncle Lon had given him was actually a golem from the God realm. Uncle Lan's original intention was to give Qin Yu an additional guarantee of survival. It was very simple to not bestow some intelligence to the golem. Uncle Lon wished for everything to depend on Qin Yu himself. "Uncle Fu, how is this body of yours?" Qin Yu suddenly asked. Uncle Fu's eyes were flickering with confidence. He said, "As the butler of the #1 artifact craftsman in the divine realm, there are not many golems in the entire divine realm that are stronger than me. The toughness of my body is definitely comparable to a high-quality heavenly divine artifact." Qin Yu was startled. High-quality heavenly divine artifact? How tough was that? Even ordinary high-level heavenly deities would likely not have such a tough body. Yet Uncle Fu's body was actually this tough. However, what use is there in having a tough body? I merely possess the same level of intelligence as a human. However, I do not possess a soul and am not alive. Thus, I am unable to train or comprehend the spatial laws. With my strength, if I were to encounter a mid-level heavenly deity, I would have no choice but to be captured." Uncle Fu had a helpless expression on his face. Qin Yu understood. Heavenly deity-level experts' comprehension toward the spatial laws were already very strong. When one reaches that level of expert, who would want to fight you in close combat? They would be able to kill you with their spatial control. This was also the reason why Uncle Fu admitted that he was inferior to mid-level heavenly deities. In the courtyard, a fallen leaf drifted past Qin Yu and slowly landed on the ground. Qin Yu turned around to look. Uncle Fu, what is the name of this large tree? Red tongue tree. It is a rare species even in the divine realm. Red tongue trees grow extremely slowly. This red tongue tree is already several billion years old, said Uncle Fu with a beaming smile. Qin Yu looked at the red tongue tree before him in shock. This tree required 3 or 4 people to surround it. However, its height was only 20 meters or so. Its crown could also be considered to be very wide. Its diameter was over 100 meters. However, 20 meters in height required 3 or 4 people to surround it. If this was in Qin Yu's hometown, in the great wilderness of the purple mystic star, then a tree of this height and thickness would likely be seen everywhere. In merely several tens of years, it would become this thick and solid. However, this tree was several billion years old. It's already this tall after such a long time. Qin Yu was shocked. Don't look down on this red tongue tree. I can tell you with certainty that the value of this red tongue tree definitely surpasses that of your high-quality heavenly divine artifact, the divine spear waning snow. Uncle Fu said with certainty. Qin Yu looked to the red tongue tree in amazement. Regardless of whether it is the trunk or the branches of the red tongue tree, they are all extremely tough and durable. Even if they are not refined, their toughness is still comparable to ordinary high-quality divine artifacts. If one were to refine them with the trunk or branches of the red tongue tree, it would be very easy to refine a low-quality heavenly divine artifact or even a mid-quality heavenly divine artifact. Uncle Fu looked to the red tongue tree and said slowly, especially the core of the red tongue tree. With such a thick core, as long as one were to refine it slightly, it would definitely be comparable to a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Qin Yu came to a realization. This red tongue tree was filled with treasures. This red tongue tree. Back then, Master asked for it when he refined a grand mist spiritual treasure for the Thunder God King. Back then, the Thunder God King was extremely distressed for it. Uncle Fu said with a smile. In the entire divine realm, I reckon that only the legendary ancient ironwood tree is more precious than the red tongue tree. Qin Yu was unable to refrain his shock. He never expected that there would be an even stronger tree among the strong. There was actually an even more exceptional tree. That ancient ironwood tree is something that even Master has never seen before. That is, a branch of the ancient ironwood tree that he had seen before. It was a material that a high-level heavenly deity requested Master to help refine an artifact. Uncle Fu said. Qin Yu naturally understood. Even the master of the bewitching god temple had never seen it before. From this, one could imagine how precious the ancient ironwood tree was. Uncle Fu, I am unable to open this artifact's palace. What should I do then? Qin Yu looked to the stone door beside him. He felt a bit helpless in his heart. Uncle Fu still had a smile on his face. He said, "Don't worry, didn't I tell you already? Once you open the image left behind by Master, you will become the sole successor to this bewitching god temple. It's fine that you are unable to open it now. It won't be too late for you to come back when you have the ability to open it in the future. By the time I have the strength to open it, I reckon I'll have already arrived in the divine realm." Qin Yu said helplessly. After you arrive in the divine realm, when your strength increases greatly, you can also find someone to help you descend to the lower realms. Uncle Fu consoled. Is it very easy to descend to the immortal, devil and demon realm from the divine realm? Qin Yu was puzzled. Uncle Fu shook his head repeatedly. Course not. Other than god kings and exalted celestials who are able to pass through space as they wish. As for the others, even people with extremely high statuses like Master would have to ask someone for help if they wish to descend to the lower realms. Ask someone for help. Qin Yu looked to Uncle Fu. He was waiting for Uncle Fu's answer. It's still too early for you to ask that. When you reach the heavenly deity level and possess a status in the divine realm, you'll know how to descend to the lower realms. At that time, you merely need to spend some treasures to bribe someone. Uncle Fu said. Qin Yu smiled. Bribe. It would appear that human relationships are the same no matter where one goes. Qin Yu suddenly thought of a question. Uncle Fu, didn't you say that people with the aura of the divine realm are unable to enter the bewitching God temple? When I arrive in the divine realm, even if I were to come to the immortal devil and demon realm, I reckon that the bewitching God temple would still not let me in. Haha, you're wrong about that. Although the bewitching God temple blocks people with the aura of the divine realm, don't forget that I am the housekeeper of the bewitching God temple. When Master is not present, I am the housekeeper of the bewitching God temple. As long as I discover that you've come, I will naturally let you in. Uncle Fu said. Hearing what Uncle Fu said, Qin Yu heaved a long sigh of relief in his heart. The treasures left behind by the #1 artifact craftsman of the divine realm, even if he were to return to the divine realm, it would still be worth it. Qin Yu had heard that even the god kings of the divine realm had once asked Che Ho Yuan for help. If I have the chance, I must definitely learn Che Ho Yuan's artifact crafting skills. Qin Yu thought in his heart. Qin Yu, with your current strength, it is impossible for you to open the Artifacts Palace and the Refining Flames Palace. You've already been to the front palace. I'll bring you to the last palace, the Transfer Palace. As Uncle Fu said those words, he walked forward. Qin Yu followed behind Uncle Fu and walked toward the Transfer Palace. The Transfer Palace was different from the Refining Flames Palace and the Artifacts Palace. The Transfer Palace's entrance was open. Furthermore, the Transfer Palace's entrance was extremely wide. The entrance that was only about 10 meters tall was nearly 30 meters long. Qin Yu and Uncle Fu stepped into the Transfer Palace's entrance. This place. Qin Yu looked at the Transfer Palace in confusion. The Transfer Palace was extremely strange. There weren't any rooms. There were only thick and solid pillars. Furthermore, there was a line of writing on each pillar. There are over 30 pillars here. What are they for? These pillars aren't even as tall as the roof. They're simply not used to support the roof. Qin Yu was puzzled. What were the 30 or so pillars for? Seeing Qin Yu's reaction, Uncle Fu said. Qin Yu, you should know that the higher the level of the cosmic space, the more stable it is. Master Strength, as a high-level heavenly deity, was unable to break through the spatial barrier in the divine realm. However, with Master Strength, he was able to easily break through a spatial tunnel in the immortal devil and demon realm. That's right. The space of the immortal devil and demon realm is much more stable than the space of my hometown, the Purple Mystic Star. Qin Yu said. The space of the mortal realm was something that even level 9 heavenly immortals could tear apart. As for the space of the immortal devil and demon realm, even a level 9 immortal emperor would need to spend a great amount of effort and use a divine artifact to tear it apart. One could tell just by comparing their stability. Master is proficient in artifact crafting and puppet crafting. Similarly, he is also proficient in crafting spatial tunnels. These 38 pillars are spatial tunnels that lead to 38 cosmic spaces. Uncle Fu said indifferently. Qin Yu, however, was startled. Lead to 38 cosmic spaces. How is that possible? Qin Yu found it hard to believe. How is that not possible? Uncle Fu said indifferently. For a space at the level of the immortal devil and demon realm, for example, it is extremely easy for Master to break through the spatial tunnel between the immortal devil and demon realm. After all, Master is a high-level heavenly deity, only a step away from becoming a god king. Qin Yu could only nod his head. A high-level heavenly deity's comprehension of space was definitely not something that the current him could imagine. How do you create a spatial tunnel? Qin Yu suddenly asked. I don't know either. However, on the surface, a spatial tunnel looks more like a black hole. Uncle Fu suddenly said. Qin Yu was stunned. Black hole? How is that possible? I am absolutely unable to withstand the gravitational force of a black hole. Qin Yu knew very well that it was already difficult for his body to withstand the gravitational force of the 18-star Emperor-level dark star, much less a black hole. I only said that it looks like a black hole. However, it's not an actual black hole. Its gravitational force is much smaller than an actual black hole. Uncle Fu said with a light smile. Only then did Qin Yu come to understand. Uncle Fu pointed at the towering pillars and said, "These pillars are not solid, you can walk directly into them. You can directly enter them and enter the spatial tunnel. As for which cosmic space it leads to, it is written on each of the pillars." 38 cosmic spaces, truly amazing. Qin Yu began to inspect the pillars one by one. Dinosaur Realm, Milky Spiritual Pearl, was discovered on the Flowing Cloud Star. Illusion Demon Realm, 5 Skills Tablet Stone was discovered on the Heavenly Blue Star. Mortal Realm's 3rd cosmic space, Black Tooth Spring Water, was discovered on the Kufeng Star. Each of the pillars stated the cosmic space it leads to as well as the precious materials found in that cosmic space. Among them, the cosmic spaces of the same level as the immortal Devil and Demon Realm were all named. As for the mortal realm's cosmic spaces, they were merely labeled with numbers. Evidently, there were too many mortal realms. Thus, there were no unified names for them. In order to find some peculiar materials, Master would naturally search through all of the cosmic spaces and create fixed spatial tunnels to allow Master to travel back and forth more easily. Of these 38 spatial tunnels that lead to cosmic spaces, 22 are of the same level as the immortal Devil and Demon Realm. The other 16 are of the same level as the mortal realm. Uncle Fu said. At this moment, Qin Yu grew silent. That was because he saw a line of words written on one of the pillars. Mortal Realm's 11th cosmic space, Purple Mystic Star, was discovered on the bipolar spiritual stone. Chapter 464. Purple Mystic Star. Seeing these words, Qin Yu's entire body seems to have been struck by lightning. Various images flashed through his mind like flickering lights and passing shadows. The scenes of his childhood training, the scenes of him chatting happily with his big brother and second brother in the hot spring, the scenes of him being together with his father. Go home. Qin Yu felt his entire soul throbbing. That impulse to go home caused endless waves in Qin Yu's calm heart. Qin Yu was completely unable to suppress that impulse. Uncle Fu, you said that I can reach that universe by going in? Qin Yu asked. Yes, why? You want to go in? Uncle Fu saw Qin Yu's expression and couldn't help but ask. Qin Yu sighed deeply. The Purple Mystic Star is the place where I grew up. Even though my current strength can tear apart space, creating a passage that can allow me to enter the mortal world is too difficult. I still don't have the strength to do so. Luckily, Senior Che-Ho has already refined this spatial passage. Qin Yu's heart was filled with joy. You can go in if you want. But Qin Yu, don't forget that when you have the strength to open the door to the artifacts hall, you must come back. Uncle Fu reminded. Qin Yu nodded. Don't worry, I will come back. After Qin Yu finished speaking, his gaze turned to the pillar in front of him. Taking a step, Qin Yu's entire person fused into the pillar and disappeared. In an instant the stars moved. Qin Yu felt his body moving at an extremely fast speed. All his eyes could see was the chaotic flow of space. This was something that Qin Yu often saw when he tore apart space. After about 7 breaths of time, Qin Yu felt the scenery in front of him change. The chaotic flow of space disappeared and what appeared in front of him was an endless space. The gravity here is really weak. Qin Yu turned his head to look. Behind him was an unremarkable devouring hole. At first glance, this devouring hole looked like a black hole. It was just that the gravity of this black hole was too weak. Qin Yu understood that as long as he entered this black hole, he would be able to return to the bewitching God Temple. Qin Yu remembered this position in his heart. The Purple Mystic Star shouldn't be too far from here. Qin Yu looked to the boundless outer space. He immediately spread out his divine awareness. Once he spread it out, Qin Yu discovered that the distance covered by his divine awareness was actually much greater than the distance covered by the immortal Devil and Demon Realm. Qin Yu had a very clear feeling that as long as he released a little bit of energy, he would be able to tear apart this mortal world. Sure enough, it's a level lower than the space of the immortal devil and demon realm. Qin Yu waved his hand. Suddenly, a 10,000-meter-long spatial gully appeared in front of Qin Yu. The spatial gully constantly emitted a devouring power, but the devouring power did not affect Qin Yu. Moments later, the spatial crack was automatically repaired by the universe. It looks like Zhou Xian's methods back then were not that impressive. Qin Yu sighed. Back then, in front of him, Zhou Xian had been able to tear apart space with a wave of his hand. He had even been able to easily destroy an area of space. Back then he had indeed been shocked. But now it seemed that the space that Zhou Xian had destroyed was only the space of the mortal world. The space of the mortal world belonged to the lowest level of space. Tearing apart this kind of space was not that impressive. And the current Qin Yu could also easily do it. The purple mystic star is indeed not far from here. Qin Yu's divine awareness had already discovered the purple mystic star, which was half a galaxy away. With a great teleportation, Qin Yu disappeared from this part of space. Qin Yu stood on the Yellowstone star, looking at the huge star not far away, the purple mystic star. Back then, he had bitterly trained on the Yellowstone star and finally comprehended the dark star realm. The distant purple mystic star, looking from the direction of the Yellowstone star, was clearly visible. Those were obviously the two polar regions of the purple mystic star. Qin Yu's figure shot towards the purple mystic star. As he got closer, Qin Yu also saw the vast sea on the purple mystic star, as well as the central chaotic astral ocean. In the north of the chaotic astral ocean, there was a small continent, which was the Qianlong continent. The large continent in the south of the ocean was the Tinglong continent. Looking at the regions of the purple mystic star, Qin Yu's mind flashed with scenes. Training on the Qianlong continent. Fighting in the underwater cultivation world. Heaven fire burning wildly on the Tinglong continent. Qin Yu stood in front of the purple mystic star, but he did not enter. After a long time, Qin Yu finally calmed down. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. The closer I am to home, the more timid I am. Then Qin Yu's figure disappeared into thin air. He had already entered the purple mystic star. Qianlong continent. It had been 4,000 years since Qin Yu flew to the immortal, devil and demon realms. In these 4,000 years, the Qianlong continent had experienced many changes of dynasties. No dynasty could last forever. The former Qin dynasty, the former Han dynasty, the former Song dynasty, all of these were only memories. Nowadays, the hidden dragon continent's mortal areas have been unified, which is very rare. The Tang dynasty empire. The founding emperor of the Tang dynasty, Li Shi, fought for half of his life and finally unified the Qianlong continent. Except the forbidden land of humans, wilderness, which was the territory of the demon beasts. The Tang dynasty empire had been established for more than 200 years and was now incomparably prosperous. But because there were no enemies, the entire noble class of the empire was somewhat decadent. They pursued pleasure, beauty, longevity. This also caused the cultivators to be revered even more. Tang dynasty empire, Guangling City. Guangling City was one of the largest cities in the Tang dynasty empire. It was famous for its beautiful women and delicious food. The beautiful women attracted a large number of scholars, and the delicious food attracted the nobles. The prosperity of Guangling City was needless to say. In the evening, the streets and alleys of Guangling City were lit with lanterns. Nighttime was when the entire Guangling City was at its most prosperous. People were coming and going on the streets. Quite a few people were wearing brocade clothes and had servants following behind them. "Master, where are we going today?" a servant asked respectfully. The master with a big belly stroked his mustache with his little finger and said with a faint smile, "Today, let's go to the moonlight boat." "Yes, master," the servant said respectfully. But at this moment, a ray of brilliant light descended from the sky. It was a sharp sword. The face of the master with a big belly suddenly changed. He took a deep breath and his big belly suddenly shrank. The master's right fist also turned red. With a strong gust of wind, the master fiercely punched out. The punch actually produced a sonic boom. Bang! The long sword shattered inch by inch. The assassin also spat out a mouthful of blood and immediately fled. The servant's eyes flashed with a cold light and he was about to give chase. The master coughed and said coldly, "Don't chase. That person is only a copper-plate assassin. It's useless to chase." "Someone from heaven's net." The servant's face changed. "Master then. Let's go back first. The person who wants to kill me actually only hired a copper-plate assassin. He underestimated me too much." The master's face turned cold and he immediately turned and left. The scene that happened on the street was seen by many people in the restaurants on the street. Heaven's Net. Heaven's Net still exists. A young man in black sitting in a restaurant muttered. This was Qin Yu, who had arrived at the Hidden Dragon continent. After returning to his hometown, Qin Yu was not in a hurry to go back. Instead, he wanted to familiarize himself with his hometown after 4,000 years. Qin Yu's divine sense covered the entire Purple Mystic Planet. On the Purple Mystic Planet, only his second brother Qin Zheng was still there. As for his father Qin Da, his big brother Qin Feng, and Feng Yuzi, they were not on the Purple Mystic Planet. Even his little sister Xiao Lu was not on the Purple Mystic Planet. Qin Yu knew that his big brother's cultivation speed was relatively fast. In addition to the treasures he had left behind, 4,000 years was enough for them to ascend to the immortal realm. As for his second brother Qin Zheng, he was still in the mortal realm. This was something that Qin Yu had expected. After all, his second brother Qin Zheng's cultivation speed was the slowest among the three brothers. That person just now was a copper-plate assassin from Heaven's Net. I didn't expect the hidden boss Wang to have such strength. The young masters in the restaurant began to discuss. He only hired a copper-plate assassin. It seems that the person who wanted to kill Boss Wang spent too little money. If he hired a bone ash assassin from Heaven's Net, who would be able to escape? Another young master said. Hearing that, Qin Yu was startled. Bone ash assassin. Back when he was still in the mortal realm, there was no such thing as a bone ash assassin. 4,000 years, the changes are truly enormous. Qin Yu lightly sighed. He then drank the wine in his cup. After so many years, the Hidden Dragon continent's winemaking techniques had improved a lot. Brotherly, I heard that the #1 martial arts family, Qin clan's eldest young Miss Qin Yu Tong, is about to arrive at Guangling City. Do you know? A young master said. Brother Gua, I already knew about this. Otherwise, why would I rush to Guangling City? Furthermore, I know that Miss Qin Yu Tong should be arriving at Guangling City tomorrow. Miss Qin Yu Tong is the #1 beauty in the martial arts world. If anyone can marry her, then not only will he have a beauty in his arms, but he will also be able to practice some of the Qin clan's top secret techniques. That's right. The Qin clan has existed for nearly 3,000 years. There is no need to doubt their strength. Immediately, a group of people surrounded this Qin Yu Tong and began to talk. Qin Yu began to have doubts. This Qin clan has existed for 3,000 years. It should have something to do with second brother. Qin Yu thought to himself. But according to Qin Yu's thoughts, his own clan could not be a small martial arts family. Also, just by using his divine sense. In the headquarters of the Qin clan, Yan capital, around his second brother Qin Zheng, there were quite a few tribulation passing experts. There were even quite a few loose immortal experts. The Qin clan's strength was comparable to some of the Tenglong continent's self-cultivation sections. On the second day, Qin Yu had also observed that Qin Yu Tong. She was indeed an outstanding beauty. However, Qin Yu did not pay too much attention to her. Afterwards, Qin Yu strolled around some of the cities in the Qianlong continent. 3 days later, Qin Yu arrived at Yan capital. Yan capital was the headquarters of the Qin clan. Even after so many years, it still was. The dynasties of the Qianlong continent changed, but every dynasty knew one thing: that there was a hidden large clan in the Qianlong continent, the Qin clan. This clan had the power to instantly destroy a dynasty. Therefore, Yan capital had always belonged to the Qin clan. The East Vanquishing Prince's mansion had already been renamed to Virtue Garden. For 4,000 years, the owner of Virtue Garden had always been a member of the Qin clan. Qin Yu stood outside the Virtue Garden's mansion by himself. "I've returned," Qin Yu said softly. Other than Qin Yu, no one else dared to approach the entrance of the Virtue Garden's mansion. Whenever someone approached, the guards of the Virtue Garden would coldly glance at them. However, even though Qin Yu was standing there, the guards acted as if they didn't see him. Even some of the people who passed by also acted as if they didn't see Qin Yu. When light shone on the area where Qin Yu was, it would automatically distort. His comprehension of space was enough to allow Qin Yu to distort space and make the surrounding people unable to see him. Perhaps it might not be so easy in the immortal, devil and demon realm. However, in the mortal realm, Qin Yu was able to easily control the space. At this moment, a father and daughter walked over. The woman wore a veil while the father wore plain clothes. Even though the woman was wearing a veil, Qin Yu was still able to see her appearance. This woman was precisely the person that he had met before, the person known as the #1 beauty of the martial arts world, Qin Yutong. "Father, why did the family head gather all of us branch families here?" A beautiful young girl who appeared to be around 20 years old asked the cyan-clothed middle-aged man beside her via voice transmission. The cyan-clothed middle-aged man replied indifferently via voice transmission. "Don't ask. The family head sent out the order to gather us 3 days ago. It's definitely an important matter." This father and daughter pair were both using the voice transmission technique that internal experts were proficient in. With Qin Yu's strength, he was able to easily hear their conversation. The Virtue Garden's guards stopped the father and daughter pair. The father and daughter pair only showed an invitation card, and the guards immediately let the father and daughter pair in. Branch family. Never would I have thought that second brother would scatter the family. This is also good. Qin Yu stood at the entrance of the mansion and quietly watched. In a short day, many people had entered the Virtue Garden's mansion with invitation cards. These people were all alone or had brought 1 or 2 people with them. "Master, are you not coming in?" A voice sounded in Qin Yu's mind. The voice transmission came from the Ink Qilin. Only the Ink Qilin that was connected to Qin Yu's soul would know of Qin Yu's arrival. "Ink Qilin, you've informed second brother of my return, right?" Qin Yu asked via voice transmission. Chapter 465. "Yes, Master. Qin Zheng already knows that you have returned." This time, he gathered all the branch families at the Virtuous Garden. The Ink Qilin said very honestly, "It's enough that second brother knows that I have returned. In a bit I will go and meet with second brother. Right now I will go and see how the descendants of the Qin family are doing." Qin Yu said calmly, "Yes, Master." The Ink Qilin responded. Then, Qin Yu calmly walked through the gate of the Virtuous Garden. With Qin Yu's understanding of space, how could those guards, who were not even at the upper sky realm, see Qin Yu? Walking along the familiar corridor, Qin Yu walked step by step. This is where Big Brother used to live. Qin Yu looked at a courtyard. However, after 4,000 years, this place has been renovated many times. Qin Yu could feel the renovation of the bricks and tiles. This place has become a forbidden area. Outsiders are forbidden from entering. Qin Yu could not help but smile. He walked through the entire Virtuous Garden, which was the mansion of the East Vanquishing Prince. Qin Yu discovered that the residence of him, Qin Feng, and his father were all guarded by guards. Outsiders were not allowed to enter at all. Second brother's training speed is indeed slow. Qin Yu's divine sense clearly observed his second brother's current strength, middle stage Kongming. 4,000 years to reach middle stage Kongming. This kind of training speed would indeed make one speechless. After returning to his own home, Qin Yu's heart was very calm. In the past, the courtyards where his guests lived were now filled with people from the branch families of the Qin family. In the Tang dynasty, all of these people stood at the peak. However, in the headquarters of the Qin family, each and every one of them was very humble. It was because these people from the branch families all understood that their status was related to the help of the direct Qin family. And the true strength of the Qin family was so terrifying. He walked to the door of a courtyard. "Father, will we not see little brother in the future?" A familiar voice sounded. "It's that Qin Yu Tong." Qin Yu moved his feet and stepped into this courtyard. At this moment, Qin Yu Tong was talking to her father. "Yu Tong, don't think too much about it. This is the order of the sole supreme second elder of the Qin clan. Not only our branch clan, the other branch clans have also sent their elite disciples." Qin Yu Tong's father, Qin Fulan, said with a helpless sigh. Qin Yu was slightly taken aback. "The only remaining supreme second elder." "Got it." Qin Yu Tong looked helpless. She then looked at her father and asked, "Father, have you seen second supreme elder?" "I've seen him once." "You should also know the identity of the second supreme elder. He was the true first emperor of our Qin dynasty back then." Qin Fulan sighed. Qin Yu Tong couldn't help but reveal a trace of admiration in her eyes as she said, "Of course I know of the second supreme elder. Not only him, there is also the first supreme elder. Back then, he led our Qin dynasty's army and swept through the 6 directions. Who would dare to stop him? Moreover, the most powerful one is still the third supreme elder. I heard that the third supreme elder's strength is exceedingly high. He is the first person of our Qin clan to ascend to the immortal world. Not only that, the third supreme elder's strength is even more terrifying than you think. Even some of the powers in the chaotic astral ocean are taking care of the Qin clan because of the third supreme elder." Qin Fulan sighed. "I grew up listening to the third supreme elder's deeds. Alas, that is a true genius. Didn't I also grow up listening to the third supreme elder's deeds? The first person in the hidden dragon continent to reach the Xiantian realm by relying on external techniques. In a short 20 years, he stepped into the Xiantian realm. I really don't dare to believe it. How much hardship did he have to go through to reach the Xiantian realm by relying on external techniques? Now, those young masters of the martial arts world are showing off in front of me. Each one of them is relying on good fortune and thinks they are amazing. Compared to the third supreme elder, those people are really..." Qin Yu Tong's eyes were filled with disdain. Qin Yu, who had been listening for a while, couldn't help but laugh. It turned out that the third supreme elder was referring to him. Unfortunately, it's too difficult to reach the Xiantian realm by relying on external techniques. It is said that in every generation, the Qin clan would select 10 outstanding disciples to cultivate external techniques. However, in the past 4,000 years, almost everyone was unable to take another step after cultivating to the peak of external techniques. There was only one person who succeeded, and that was your uncle Qin Shirtian. However, I heard that the technique that the third supreme elder cultivates is extremely powerful." Qin Fulan said. "Uncle Qin Shirtian, I know him. All the disciples of our Qin clan worship him. He is the only successor of the third supreme elder in so many years." Qin Yu Tong sighed. Hearing this, Qin Yu was startled. The stellar transformations technique had a successor. Qin Yu's divine sense immediately covered the entire virtuous garden. At that time, Qin Yu had only spread out his divine sense to search for his second brother. He didn't carefully observe others. And this time, Qin Yu easily found the person who cultivated the stellar transformations technique. Early nebula stage. To be able to reach this realm in nearly 40 years is already not bad. Qin Yu immediately discovered the person called Qin Shirtian. "Yutong, when are you going to get married?" "Father can't wait." To be honest, among those disciples who are pursuing you, there are some pretty good ones. Qin Fulan said with a smile. Qin Yutong couldn't help but shake her head. Not for now. I don't hope for my future husband to have the perseverance or talent of the third Supreme Elder. I only hope for 1/10 of the third Supreme Elder. Those noble young masters. Qin Yu couldn't help but be startled. Then he laughed. Interesting. Who are you? Qin Yutong was surprised to discover a black-clothed youth standing nearby. Qin Fulan also turned around and saw the black-clothed youth. Immediately he said modestly, "You are also a disciple of our Qin clan, right?" Qin Fulan knew that even a self-cultivator couldn't recklessly barge into the virtuous garden of the Qin clan. This was because the virtuous garden had a clan protector divine beast. Almost everyone in the Qin clan had heard about the clan protector divine beast. Yes, I am a member of the Qin clan. Qin Yu nodded with a smile. His gaze turned towards Qin Yutong. Little lass, sometimes there is no need to have high expectations for your husband. It's fine as long as he is suitable. Little lass. Qin Yutong couldn't help but widen her eyes. How much older are you than me? I'm much older than you. Qin Yu said with a faint smile. At this moment, Qin Fulan's heart was beating like a drum. He could sense Qin Yu's unique aura. It was an aura that had fused with the heavens and earth. Even though he had only seen the second Supreme Elder once, he could sense that the second Supreme Elder was inferior to the person in front of him. He might be a loose immortal expert of our Qin clan. Qin Fulan thought to himself. In the past 4,000 years, the Qin clan had some loose immortal experts. And at this moment, another person walked into the courtyard. Qin Fulan. The person said calmly, "Lord Emissary." Qin Fulan immediately bowed when he saw the person. Even Qin Yutong bowed. The Qin clan had clan protector emissaries. These clan protector emissaries were divided into 3 ranks. The golden-clothed clan protector emissaries were the lowest. The blue-clothed clan protector emissaries were slightly higher, and the black-clothed clan protector emissaries were the highest. Even the lowest golden-clothed clan protector emissaries were at least at the Yuanying stage. The Patriarch has ordered that in 2 hours, everyone is to attend the banquet at Fengwan Hall. The golden-clothed emissary said. Then he turned and left. It was as though he hadn't seen Qin Yu at all. After the emissary left, Qin Fulan and Qin Yutong stood up. Why did the Lord Emissary not see us just now? Qin Yutong looked at Qin Yu in confusion. If Qin Yu's status was high, the golden-clothed emissary would at least bow. If Qin Yu's status was low, Qin Yu would at least bow to the golden-clothed emissary. However, the golden-clothed emissary didn't even look at Qin Yu from beginning to end. This was very puzzling. Qin Yu walked to a nearby stone bench and sat down. He said, "If I want him to see me, he will see me. If I don't want him to see me, he won't see me." Then, Qin Yu flipped his hand and took out a flagon of wine. He drank a mouthful. Yes, the wine in Yen capital is still the best. Qin Yutong and Qin Fulan looked at each other. They were speechless. Standing in front of others, he could let them see him if he wanted them to see him, and not let them see him if he didn't want them to see him. Was there such a divine ability? They had never heard of it. Qin Yu, on the other hand, was happily drinking wine in the courtyard. 2 hours later, within Fengwan Hall. At this moment, a large number of people from the various branch families of the Qin clan were gathered in Fengwan Hall. These people filled dozens of tables. One could imagine how many people there were. However, at this moment no one touched their chopsticks. This was because the Patriarch hadn't arrived yet. Qin Yu was also sitting at a table in Fengwan Hall. The Qin clan only checked the invitations at the door. After that they didn't check at all. This was because everyone knew that in the Hidden Dragon continent, no one dared to cause trouble for the Qin clan. Because some branch families only sent 1 person, some sent 2, and some sent 3 people, there were still many banquets prepared. Qin Yu was among them. Outsiders thought that Qin Yu was also someone from the branch family. The Patriarch has arrived. a golden-clothed envoy said at the front of Fengwan Hall. Instantly everyone stood up. Followed by 4 blue-clothed envoys, the current patriarch of the Qin clan walked in from the back hall. This patriarch's eyes were filled with calmness. Qin Yu secretly nodded. The patriarch's strength wasn't strong. He was only in the middle stage of yuanying. Everyone, today is a joyous day. The patriarch's first words stunned all the branch family members. This was because everyone remembered that not long ago, the second Supreme Elder had personally ordered all the branch families to send their elite disciples to the Virtuous Garden. He had ordered those elite disciples to hide in various places and preserve the Qin clan's descendants. At the same time, he also announced that the Qin clan was facing a huge crisis and all the branch families must be vigilant. However, in the blink of an eye, the patriarch had actually announced a joyous day. Although they were shocked, the people below still didn't make any noise. Everyone, please rest assured. The second Supreme Elder personally ordered that the elite disciples of the branch families will be sent back to your respective clans. As for the second Supreme Elder, he will arrive at Fengwan Hall immediately. The patriarch said loudly. No matter how calm they were at this moment, the people below began to clamor. The second Supreme Elder will arrive immediately. I didn't hear wrong, right? Really? The second Supreme Elder is coming. Even Qin Fulan had only seen the second Supreme Elder once in his entire life. This was also because Qin Fulan was the leader of the Qin clan's branch family. However, there were less than 10 people in the hall who had seen the second Supreme Elder. Silence. A voice sounded from the side entrance of Fengwan Hall. A black-clothed envoy walked in. Instantly everyone quieted down. According to legend, the Qin clan's protector envoys were divided into 3 levels: gold, blue and black. The black-clothed envoys were of the highest level. Even the weakest of them had reached the Kongming stage. The strong ones had even reached the Dujia stage. The 3 black-clothed envoys in the front opened the way. A scholarly youth wearing a light yellow robe walked in. Second Supreme Elder. The patriarch bowed respectfully. The patriarch of the Qin clan changed every 100 years. However, the positions of the 3 Supreme Elders were permanent. Among the 3 Supreme Elders, any one of them had far more power than the patriarch. Second Supreme Elder. Only then did the people below come to their senses, and all of them bowed respectfully. Only one person didn't bow. That person was Qin Yu. Second brother. Qin Yu only nodded slightly. When Qin Zheng saw Qin Yu, surprise burst out from his eyes. Only Qin Zheng was also an emperor in the past. He had controlled the Qin clan for 4,000 years. In the blink of an eye, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and nodded to Qin Yu. When the protector envoys next to him saw Qin Yu not bowing, they immediately wanted to shout angrily. Don't be impulsive. Qin Zheng's spiritual sense sounded in their minds. When all the people from the branch families stood up, Qin Zheng said with a light smile, Everyone, a while ago my Qin family was facing a crisis. However, now that the crisis has passed, I am dispatching those elite disciples. I believe that within a month, they will return to their homes. Everyone can rest assured. Hearing the words of the second Supreme Elder, all the people from the branch families let out a long sigh of relief. A few days ago, the so-called crisis had frightened all the clans. Everyone, please enjoy the banquet. After Qin Zheng finished speaking, he walked down the stairs. When those people saw Qin Zheng walking down, they were so excited that they didn't know what to say. Qin Zheng only nodded and smiled. Then, he walked to the front of Qin Yu's table and looked at Qin Yu. Second brother, you have indeed done a good job. Now, the Qin clan has more than 10,000 disciples. Qin Yu stood up. To be exact, the Qin clan has more than 80,000 people. Qin Zheng also said. Qin Yu walked to the front of Qin Zheng. Second brother. Third brother. Qin Zheng also looked directly at Qin Yu. Qin Yu Tong, who was sitting at the same table as Qin Yu, heard the conversation between the two and was somewhat stupefied. "Everyone, I hope you won't spread what you heard today." Qin Zheng glanced at the people in Fengwan Hall. Then the two brothers Qin Yu and Qin Zheng left Fengwan Hall side by side. "Father, did I hear it wrong?" Qin Yu Tong looked at her father. Qin Fulan's eyes were also filled with disbelief. "If I didn't hear it wrong, that person was the legendary Third Supreme Elder." He, the Third Supreme Elder. Qin Yu Tong suddenly remembered that she had once told Qin Yu about her husband's condition in front of him. She couldn't help but blush. And the leaders of the branch families in Fengwan Hall were all excited. The Third Supreme Elder had actually returned. What kind of crisis could there be? The group of people were extremely excited. Everyone felt at ease. To make all the clansmen feel at ease. This was the reason why Qin Yu called Qin Zheng's second brother in front of everyone. With his strength, there was simply no need for him to hide. Chapter 466. In the secluded courtyard, there was a simple stone table with 6 or 7 dishes and 2 jugs of wine. The two brothers Qin Yu and Qin Zheng sat down and chatted. "Little Yu, it's fortunate that you came back this time. Otherwise, our Qin family would have suffered great losses." Qin Zheng had a slight smile on his face and his heart was a lot more relaxed. Ever since the Ink Qilin told Qin Zheng about Qin Yu's return, Qin Zheng was completely relieved. "Second brother, what happened?" Qin Yu asked. Qin Zheng said with a smile. "Ever since you left, our Qin family slowly grew stronger. Moreover, the Devil Peng Island of the chaotic astral ocean also took good care of us. This allowed our Qin family to develop very steadily. However, several decades ago, the master of the Devil Peng Island, Lian Chong, ascended." Lian Chong. Qin Yu recalled the scene when he saved Lian Chong from the 8th loose immortal tribulation. That's right. Ever since Zhong Ju ascended, Lian Chong's mother became the new master of the Devil Peng Island. After Lian Chong's mother ascended, Lian Chong's father became the new master. With the support of his parents and his strength, Lian Chong became the new master of the Devil Peng Island after his father. Qin Zheng said with a smile. "Lian Chong remembers your kindness and usually cares about our Qin family. This allowed our Qin family to be very stable and without any danger." Qin Yu nodded. "If there's a chance, we must thank Lian Chong," Qin Yu said with a smile. "However, ever since Lian Chong ascended to the Devil Realm, our Qin family has been in trouble." Qin Zheng said helplessly. "What kind of trouble?" Qin Yu asked. Qin Zheng said helplessly. "Do you still remember that before you ascended to the immortal Devil and Demon realm, you left some immortal weapons in the Qin family? You even set a set of top-grade immortal weapons as the Qin family's inheritance treasure?" "Yes, I know. Back then, I took so many immortal weapons from Ni Yang's realm. Leaving them at home is something I should do." Qin Yu remembered clearly. Back then, when Qin Yu returned from the Yellow Stone Star, he stayed at home for a period of time and made arrangements for the Qin family. The set of supreme-grade immortal artifacts consisted of supreme-grade immortal armor and supreme-grade immortal sword. We know the principle of not showing off our wealth. We also didn't tell anyone about the set of supreme-grade immortal artifacts. Only Lian Chong, whom we owe a debt of gratitude to, knows. Who would have thought that Lian Chong might have told some experts of the Devil Peng Island? The current new Devil Peng Island's island master has already started to covet our set of finest grade immortal artifacts. Qin Zheng said helplessly. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with killing intent. If there was a threat to his clansmen, especially if there was a threat of extinction, it was better to deal with it as soon as possible. However, Lian Chong's family of 3 is the island master of the Devil Peng Island. Lian Chong's influence on the Devil Peng Island is still very great. That new island master of the Devil Peng Island wouldn't dare to directly attack. He's worried that some elders of the Devil Peng Island would oppose him. Qin Jing said with a smile. Qin Yu could guess. For a major power like the Devil Peng Island, if one didn't have unparalleled power like Zhongju, then an ordinary person would definitely have to consider some of the elders and experts of the Devil Ping Island. The 3 members of the Lien family were all island masters. Before Lien Chong ascended, he had also entrusted some elders to them. Therefore, the new island master naturally wouldn't dare to openly threaten them. Therefore, that new island master told this information to a certain person. The current ruler of the wilderness is a 12th tribulation loose demon named Xiao Ku. His power is extremely great. Qin Zheng said solemnly. Qin Yu smiled calmly. A 12th tribulation loose demon is a level 9 sky demon. Only in the mortal realm would they dare to proclaim themselves as hegemons. In front of the current Qin Yu. Even if 10,000 of such level 9 sky demons were to come, he would probably be able to destroy them with a wave of his hand. After all, they weren't on the same level. A 12th tribulation loose demon. In the past, the ruler of the wilderness, Yu Liang, also wanted to seize our Qin clan's immortal artifacts and died. Could it be that this new ruler of the wilderness didn't learn his lesson? Qin Yu said coldly. Qin Zheng shook his head and said, "It's very normal. That 12th tribulation loose demon is a high-level divine beast. In the chaotic astral ocean or the dragon clan, there isn't a single super-divine beast. In this world, there really isn't anyone who can defeat the new ruler of the wilderness. When the tiger is not in the mountain, the monkey becomes king," Qin Yu said with a smile. He remembered that in the past, before he had ascended, 5-clawed golden dragon Feng Tian, golden-winged great Peng Zhongju and a few other emissaries of the upper realm had descended to the mortal realm. These experts had fought together to seize the treasures of Anai Yang's realm. At that time, even someone like Yu Liang was just a small fry. Back then, he was only at the Deshang stage and had already fought with those people. Now, with his power comparable to a deity's, he had let his family be humiliated by these nobodies. Qin Yu couldn't help but spread out his divine sense, covering the entire purple mystic star. What did the 2 of them say? Qin Yu looked at his second brother. Qin Zheng said, "At first they were just threatening me. I didn't pay any attention to them. Not long ago, the 2 of them sent a message to me, telling me to hand over the set of top-quality immortal equipment within a year. Otherwise, they wouldn't care about face and directly attack me. It seems that they also have concerns," Qin Yu said with a smile. Qin Zheng nodded and said, "Of course they have concerns. The new ruler of the Devil Peng Island and the new ruler of the wilderness are worried about revenge in the immortal, devil and demon realm. After all, Zhongju and Lian Chong's family are definitely stronger than them in the devil realm. If the 2 of them attack, they will definitely kill everyone in my Qin family." Qin Yu sneered and said, "They will definitely cut the weeds and eliminate the roots." Qin Yu was able to understand the thoughts of the 2 of them. After all, the immortal devil and demon realm was boundless. In the eyes of these 2, even if the Qin family in the immortal devil and demon realm knew about this, it would be impossible to find them in the boundless immortal devil and demon realm. This was the reason why the 2 of them dared to do this. They didn't expect that little Yu would be able to return to the mortal realm. Qin Zheng said with a smile. Ever since he knew that Qin Yu had returned, Qin Zheng had been very happy. "Okay, let's not talk about these 2 anymore. Disappointing." Qin Yu shook his head and said. Then he said, "Second brother, when did big brother and father ascend to the immortal devil and demon realm? Is there a way to contact them?" Qin Zheng shook his head. "In the past 4,000 years, there have been more than 10 people from our Qin family that have ascended to the immortal devil and demon realm. Big brother was the first to ascend. Father and Uncle Feng were relatively late. However, they both succeeded in ascending. I see that our Qin family has a lot of loose immortals. What's going on?" Qin Yu asked in confusion. With the immortal artifacts that the Qin family has, ascending shouldn't be difficult. This is my rule. Only a few people are qualified to bring immortal artifacts into the immortal realm. Ordinary people must rely on their own strength. Even if they fail and become loose immortals, they can still increase the strength of our Qin family in the mortal realm. Qin Zheng said as he ate. That's good too. However, it will be difficult for me to find my father and big brother. Qin Yu frowned. In the boundless immortal realm, finding his father was indeed a difficult matter. After all, with the current range of his divine sense, searching the entire immortal realm was not an easy matter. The entire immortal realm has close to 20 star fields and hundreds of galaxies. Second brother, is there anyone you know that wants to ascend to the immortal realm? Qin Yu suddenly asked. Because Qin Yu knows that if one ascends to the immortal realm from the same planet, they will ascend to the same place. If one ascends to the devil realm, they will also ascend to the same place. Qin Yu believes that with his father's strength, he should still be on the planet that he ascended to. Even if he left, he shouldn't be far away. Ascend. Qin Zheng muttered. Suddenly, Qin Zheng's eyes lit up. Our Qin family has someone who has reached the middle Dujia stage. I estimate that he will soon undergo tribulation. Qin Yu shook his head. Too slow. Reaching the middle Dujia stage. He still needs to undergo tribulation. Only when he reaches the Deshang stage can he ascend. This is too slow. Are there any Deshang stage experts? Qin Zheng said helplessly. Our Qin family's history is too short. We also do not have many experts. It is true that we do not have any Deshang stage experts. I think only the Tinglong continent has someone that fits your requirements. Tinglong continent. Qin Yu suddenly smiled. I am truly foolish. The Tinglong continent has sects that can directly contact the immortal realm. They definitely know which planet one will ascend to. Wouldn't it be fine if I just go and ask? Qin Yu relaxed. That's good. Come little Yu, let's drink. Qin Zheng raised his cup. Qin Yu also raised his cup with a smile. The two brothers clinked their cups and drank it all in one gulp. The next day, in the boundless great wasteland to the east of the hidden dragon continent, the new ruler of the great wasteland, Xiao Ku, was currently in the rear hall. He was lying on a chair and enjoying the massage of a beautiful demon fox. You are Xiao Ku, right? A voice suddenly sounded. Xiao Ku, who was originally dozing off and enjoying the massage, suddenly opened his eyes. Only at this moment did he see that there was a person standing in the center of the rear hall. For some unknown reason, he was unable to clearly see the appearance of this person. Even the light rays that approached that person seemed to be devoured. Who are you? Xiao Ku's expression changed. Didn't you want the top-quality immortal artifact of the Qin clan? If I give you a divine artifact, do you want it? That person said. Xiao Ku involuntarily gulped twice. He looked at the two demon fox maids beside him. These two maids seemed to have been fixed in place and were unable to move. You two demon foxes, listen up. Tell the remaining people of the Great Wasteland that I have taken away your new ruler, Xiao Ku. The previous ruler, Yu Liang, coveted our Qin clan's top-quality immortal artifact and ended up dying. Never would I have expected that you, Xiao Ku, would also dare to do such a thing. I presume that you are prepared to meet the same end as Yu Liang. Qin Yu said indifferently. Only at this moment did Xiao Ku realize who this person was. No, I didn't, Xiao Ku said in alarm. However, he had only said a few words when he discovered that he was unable to make any sound. Did the two of you hear that clearly? Tell the Great Wasteland to prepare to choose a new ruler. If they wish to follow in the footsteps of the previous two rulers, feel free to go to the Qin clan and seize the immortal artifact. I will welcome them at any time. After Qin Yu finished speaking, his body instantly disappeared. Xiao Ku also disappeared along with Qin Yu. Only after Qin Yu disappeared did the two demon fox maids regain their ability to move. At this moment, the two of them couldn't help but shout in alarm. Immediately, 3 11th Tribulation loose demons charged in. Where is Lord Ruler? One of the giant demons shouted. The two demon fox maids' faces turned deathly pale. One of them stammered. He was captured. He said that you, my lord, should choose a new ruler. The faces of these giant demons, whose status in the Great Wasteland was second only to Xiao Ku, all changed. That person also said, if you, my lords, wish to follow in the footsteps of the previous two rulers, feel free to go to the Qin clan and seize the immortal artifact. The demon fox maid stammered. The three giant demons looked at each other. The Qin clan. The Qin clan of the Hidden Dragon continent has such an expert. The three giant demons all fell silent. To be able to capture a 12th tribulation high-level divine beast without batting an eyelid. This sort of power had already caused them to feel fear. It wasn't just the Great Wasteland. The same thing happened on the Devil Peng Island. Only compared to the Great Wasteland, the situation on the Devil Peng Island was even greater. This was because at that time, the new island master of the Devil Peng Island was in the middle of a meeting with the 6 elders of the Devil Peng Island as well as some important upper echelon members. But during the meeting, Qin Yu appeared. In the instant that Qin Yu appeared, everyone on the Devil Peng Island discovered to their horror that they were unable to move. Lian Chong is my good friend. I'll give him face. This time it was merely your new island master's idea. I'll only take him with me. Alright everyone, let's continue the meeting and choose another island master. And just like that, Qin Yu teleported away with the new island master of the Devil Peng Island. Those 11th tribulation and even 12th tribulation experts of the Devil Peng Island all discovered to their astonishment that they couldn't even see Qin Yu's appearance clearly. In front of Qin Yu, they were as helpless as ants. Both the Devil Peng Island and the Great Wasteland had chosen a new island master and controller. At the same time, everyone would remember this day. Who was this supreme expert who had suddenly appeared? This caused everyone to feel fear. Flame Capital City. The Virtue Garden. Second brother, how should we deal with these two? Go ahead. Qin Yu and Qin Zheng were seated on chairs. As for the controller of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, and the island master of the Devil Peng Island, Lon Tai, they were unable to move at all. Qin Zheng sized up the two of them. The controller of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, and the island master of the Devil Peng Island, Lon Tai, were both filled with terror. Qin Yu was simply too powerful. In front of Qin Yu, the two of them couldn't even die. They weren't on the same level at all. Controller of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, what is your true form? Qin Jing suddenly asked. I heard that the new island master of the Devil Peng Island is a monster as well. One of them is a leopard and the other is a bird, said Qin Yu with a smile. Qin Jing looked to Qin Yu. Third brother, don't you think that it's too easy to kill them like this? Do you have any spirit beast collars? I feel that our Qin clan's defensive power is insufficient. Spirit beast collars. I've used them all. However, this sort of simple artifact is extremely common in the immortal devil and demon realm. The great demon emperors of the 10,000 beasts Atlas all know how to refine them. Qin Yu turned his gaze to Xiao Ku and Lon Tai. The two of you, do you want to die or become spirit beasts? Chapter 468. The controller of the wilderness, Xiao Ku, and the island master of the Devil Peng Island, Lon Tai, felt bitter in their hearts. Become spirit beasts. The two leaders of the wilderness and the Devil Peng Island were now forced to become spirit beasts under the control of others. Was life more important or was freedom more important? Of course, becoming spirit beasts didn't necessarily mean that they would lose their freedom. But they would lose their self-respect. Have you finished thinking? You can choose death. Qin Yu picked up his teacup and took a small sip. Against his enemies, Qin Yu would never be merciful and lenient. That was because he knew that once he was merciful and lenient, these people wouldn't be ungrateful. Instead, they would hide their hatred in their hearts. After so many years of fighting, Qin Yu knew long ago when it was time to be ruthless. I agree, Lon Tai said through gritted teeth. Only the muscles on Lon Tai's face were trembling. One could imagine the rage in his heart. Xiao Ku glanced at the nearby Lon Tai, then looked at Qin Yu. If I am to become a spirit beast, I am only willing to become your spirit beast. I don't need it. Qin Yu stood up. The number of spirit beasts I have far exceeds your imagination. Forget about you, even if the monster emperor wanted to become my spirit beast, I wouldn't mind. Qin Yu had a hint of calmness on his face. Xiao Ku and Lan Tai were shocked. He didn't even care about monster emperors. What level of power did this person have? How could there be such an expert in the mortal realm? Xiao Ku, I don't have time to waste with you. Qin Yu frowned slightly. Qin Zheng glanced at his third brother, then nodded to himself. In this world, when dealing with some people, one should be merciful. But when dealing with others, one shouldn't. Only by understanding this would one be able to survive. I agree. Xiao Ku squeezed out one word after another from his teeth. Qin Yu and Qin Zheng glanced at each other, a hint of a smile on their faces. Qin Yu asked a few questions. He learned that in the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, there was a monster king named Jun Xiao who was skilled in artifact forging. He was also extremely skilled in spirit beast collars. Qin Yu thus ordered this monster king to forge spirit beast collars. Second brother, you ordered 2 people to lock up these 2 people first. Qin Yu said to Qin Zheng. Qin Zheng looked at Qin Yu. Xiao Yu, if they want to escape then. Rest assured, their martial powers have been completely sealed by me. Even in the immortal devil and demon realm, there are not many people who are capable of breaking the seal, said Qin Yu with a smile on his face. However, his tone was filled with confidence. Qin Zheng nodded and ordered the 2 golden-robed envoys. Second Supreme Elder. The 2 gold-robed envoys greeted respectfully. Qin Zheng nodded. After that, he glanced at Qin Yu. He is my 3rd younger brother, and is also the 3rd elder of the Supremacy faction. The 2 gold-robed envoys had long heard about the appearance of the 3rd Supreme Elder from their good friends. Now that they heard it from Qin Yu himself, the 2 of them couldn't help but look at him in surprise. After all, they had grown up listening to Qin Yu's stories. Seeing their idol, the 2 of them were also excited. Second brother, are these all our Qin clan's disciples? Qin Yu asked. Qin Zheng nodded with a smile on his face. These are all our Qin clan's elite disciples with pretty good martial powers. However, cultivation is truly hard. Our Qin clan has over 80,000 disciples, but the number of disciples who have successfully cultivated is still too few. For some of the side branches, there would only be a single disciple who could cultivate in every generation. At this moment, the 2 golden-robed envoys were talking to each other through spiritual awareness voice transmission. Fourth brother, this is the 3rd Supreme Elder. That's right, the 2nd Supreme Elder said it himself earlier. Never would I have expected that the 3rd Supreme Elder would look so young. His appearance is also very similar to the 2nd Supreme Elder. No wonder they're brothers. Go back and tell the eldest brother and the others that we've seen the 3rd Supreme Elder with our own eyes. They'll definitely be extremely envious. Suddenly, Qin Zheng's voice sounded. Why aren't the 2 of you greeting the 3rd Supreme Elder? The 2 golden-robed envoys who were pleasantly surprised to see their idol woke up. The 2 of them hurriedly said, We pay our respects to the 3rd Supreme Elder. Qin Yu nodded with a smile on his face. Emin continued to work hard. Immediately, the 2 golden-robed envoys became excited. The legendary 3rd Supreme Elder was actually talking to them. Qin Yu then looked at Lan Tai and Xiao Ku. The 2 of you stay safe for the next few days. Don't even think about escaping. My power is sealed within your bodies. No matter where you run to, I'll be able to find you. Furthermore, killing you is a very simple matter. Qin Yu said calmly. Xiao Ku and Lan Tai smiled bitterly in their hearts. After witnessing Qin Yu's strength, how could they possibly dare to escape? At this moment, Qin Zheng instructed the 2 golden-robed envoys. The 2 of you watch over them carefully. Don't make any mistakes. Yes, 2nd Supreme Elder. The 2 golden-robed envoys acknowledged the order. In front of Qin Yu, the two of them even raised their voices somewhat. After the two golden-robed envoys escorted Xiao Ku and Lan Tai away. "Second brother, I've heard that my stellar transformations technique already has a successor? His name is Qin Shirtian," Qin Yu suddenly said. With regards to this Qin Shirtian, Qin Yu was somewhat expectant. After all, this Qin Shirtian could be considered as the sole successor of his stellar transformations technique. "Haha, little Yu, you already know about it. Good, I'll order him to come over." Qin Zheng immediately spread out his spiritual awareness and sent a voice transmission. After a short moment, a man with a dark beard stubble walked in. Qin Yu carefully sized up this man called Qin Shirtian. Qin Shirtian had a very determined expression. Qin Yu was able to tell that Qin Shirtian was a forthright and straightforward man. His bright and spirited eyes were staring at Qin Yu. "Utmost Supreme Third Elder." Qin Shirtian was a bit uncertain. Qinjing said, "Why call him Utmost Supreme Third Elder? Just call him Master. Little Yu, what do you think?" "Master." Qin Yu was slightly startled. A figure immediately appeared in Qin Yu's mind. "Lu Hanshu." "Little Yu, what are you thinking about?" Seeing that Qin Yu was distracted, Qin Zheng asked. "Oh no, it's nothing." Qin Yu looked at Qin Shirtian. Seeing the longing expression in Qin Shirtian's eyes, he smiled indifferently and said, "Okay, from now on you can be considered as my second disciple." "Second disciple?" Qin Zheng looked at Qin Yu with a puzzled expression. As for Qin Shirtian, he immediately kneeled down, kowtowed and said, "This disciple pays his respects to Master. Asterisk 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 East Hazy Mountain, Misty Villa." 4,000 years had passed. However, the Misty Villa had been maintained by the successive generations of the Qin clan. Its appearance from 4,000 years ago was practically the same. Usually, only Qin Yu would come to the Misty Villa to take a stroll. However now, Qin Yu was staying in the Misty Villa. Lanterns were hung in the Misty Villa. Qin Yu was only wearing underpants. His chest was bare as he lay in the Misty Villa's special hot spring. He was lying down just like when he was young. There was only Qin Yu in the hot spring. This sort of feeling is truly comfortable. A tranquil smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. Qin Yu's heart, which was as hard as a boulder, had also softened at this moment. Under the dim light of the lanterns, Qin Yu enjoyed the tranquility of the night. Lying on his back, his eyes stared at the stars in the sky. Thinking back to when he was young, he had also stared at the stars in the sky like this. He had also been alone. He had once cultivated his movement techniques in this hot spring. He had also cultivated his external techniques in this hot spring. Qin Yu closed his eyes. It was as though he could still hear the sounds from back then when he was cultivating. In the blink of an eye, 4,000 years have passed. Time has passed so quickly. Royal Father, Big Brother and the others have already arrived in the immortal realm. Tomorrow I will make a trip to the Tinglong continent and figure out which immortal realm planet the experts from the Purple Mystic Star are at. After settling the matters of Royal Father and the others, I will have to concentrate on cultivating. Qin Yu's thoughts began to wander towards Li Er. Li Er's smiles and frowns. Especially in front of Zhou Xian, Li Er's helplessness and reluctance when he parted with her. However, Qin Yu would never forget Zhou Xian's indifference, disdain, and those words he had said to him. "Brat, you are immortal. Li Er is not someone you can call. Similarly, my name Zhou Xian is not someone you can call. From today onwards, you are not allowed to say Li Er, and you are not allowed to call me by my name. Do you understand?" Qin Yu clearly remembered Zhou Xian's disdainful words. "Zhou Xian, this group of people will definitely stop me from being together with Li Er." Qin Yu clenched his fists, blue veins popping out. His eyes burst with light. "Oh, poos, poos." The surrounding space shook violently. The hot spring Qin Yu was lying in also exploded, splashing water everywhere. Qin Yu took a deep breath, suppressing the impatience and anger in his heart. Only then did the surface of the hot spring calm down. God realm. Qin Yu's eyes gradually turned cold. I have never liked killing people. However, if Zhou Xian and this group of people insist on stopping me from being together with Li Er, then they cannot blame me for turning into an Azura and starting a massacre. Qin Yu's heart gave birth to a trace of killing intent. Even though his current strength was weak, Qin Yu was not afraid in the slightest. After all, the gap between him and a heavenly deity could be seen. That's a matter for after I reach the God realm. Right now, what I need to do is to increase my strength as much as possible. Qin Yu nodded to himself. Before that, I need to make arrangements for Royal Father, Big Brother and the others. Under the hazy light of the lanterns, Qin Yu's eyes glittered. Tinglong Continent. The Tinglong Continent was mainly divided into the side of Xiaxianists and the side of Xiamoists. At that time, the head of the Xiaxianists, the Qingshu Temple, was burned by Qin Yu's heavenly flames. In the end, even the Qingshu Temple's experts were killed. This caused the Qingshu Temple to fall to its lowest point in history. Currently, the two strongest sects of the Xiaxianists were the Purple Sun School and the Lanyang School. When the Qingshu Temple fell from its divine altar and became a second-rate sect, these two sects began to recruit disciples non-stop. The location of the Purple Sun School was a place with beautiful mountains and limpid waters. Practically every day, there would be disciples wanting to enter the Purple Sun School. Today was no exception. A group of youngsters stepped onto the Purple Sun School's mountain path with faces full of excitement. This group of youngsters were from the same village. This time, they had also come together to enter the Purple Sun School. Merely, it was hard to say whether or not the Purple Sun School would accept them. This group of youngsters walked to the entrance of the Purple Sun School. This is the Purple Sun School. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. A youngster standing on a flying sword shouted from afar. This group of youngsters hurriedly bowed and said, "Senior, we wish to enter the Purple Sun School." "Oh, wait a moment," said that youngster indifferently. And at this moment, a white-clothed man floated past this group of youngsters. That youngster standing on a flying sword immediately shouted, "You stop." That white-clothed man did not even take a glance at that youngster. Instead, his gaze swept across the entire Purple Sun School. He sighed. The Purple Sun School is even more prosperous than the Qingshu Temple of the past. After he finished saying that, the white-clothed man moved his feet and arrived outside the main hall of the Purple Sun School. Teleportation. That youngster standing on a flying sword immediately did not dare to shout. It's only been 4,000 years. The current Purple Sun School has even more loose immortal experts than before. The white-clothed man stood at the entrance of the main hall. His gaze was cast toward a palace within the Purple Sun School. Soon after, he disappeared. The two disciples guarding the entrance of the main hall looked at each other. They were overwhelmed with shock. Immediately after, they went to report to the upper echelons of the Purple Sun School. Many of the loose immortals of the Purple Sun School were still in the chaotic astral ocean. Only about a third of them were in the Purple Sun School. However, the current #1 expert of the Purple Sun School, the 12th Tribulation Loose Immortal Reverend Fanyang, was in the Purple Sun School. That was because he was about to ascend. The palace that the white-clothed man was looking at was the palace where Reverend Fanyang was meditating. In a meditation room within the palace, Reverend Fanyang was sitting cross-legged on the ground. "Let me ask you something. You only need to answer." A voice suddenly sounded in the room. Reverend Fanyang opened his eyes in shock. He looked at the man in front of him in disbelief. The room was completely sealed. There was even a restriction outside the room. Reverend Fanyang did not expect that someone would be able to enter the room without alerting him. The restriction wasn't broken. The door wasn't even opened. Reverend Fanyang was even more shocked. "Let me ask you, which planet will the Deshang stage experts of the Purple Mystic Planet go to after they ascend?" Qin Yu asked directly. Today, Qin Yu was dressed in white. His long hair fluttered in the wind. He did not have the killing intent he had in the past. Reverend Fanyang did not dare to think too much. He quickly said respectfully, "Senior, once the cultivators of the purple mystic planet ascend, they will go to the fish sun planet in the flowing spring galaxy of the immortal world." Qin Yu was stunned. "You mean the flowing spring galaxy?" Qin Yu raised his voice. Reverend Fanyang quickly said, "Yes, Junior is certain. Also, our purple sun sect has a way to communicate with the immortal world. Our sect's ancestors are all on the fish sun planet of the flowing spring galaxy. The flowing spring galaxy used to be Emperor Yu's territory. Now, it is under the control of the mystic emperor. I hope nothing bad happens." Qin Yu frowned. Originally, Qin Yu had the intention of spending some time leisurely in the purple mystic planet. However, after knowing the planet his father would ascend to, Qin Yu did not have the slightest bit of leisure. "I must return immediately." Qin Yu took a glance at Reverend Fanyang. He said indifferently, "You can just pretend that I never came and continue training." After he finished saying those words, Qin Yu disappeared. "Yes, Senior," Reverend Fanyang quickly said. He then looked at the empty room and felt that the restriction was still intact. He felt that what happened just now was like a dream. Ignoring the existence of the restriction. Was I dreaming? Reverend Fanyang muttered to himself. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Chapter 469. Hidden Dragon Continent, Tang Dynasty Empire's flame capital city. In a living room of the Virtue Garden, there were only Qin Yu and Qin Zheng in the living room. "Second brother, I must leave." Qin Yu looked at his second brother Qin Zheng and said solemnly, "What's wrong? Are you in a hurry to go back? If there's nothing, just stay in the Hidden Dragon Continent for a few more days." Qin Zheng was unwilling to let Qin Yu leave so quickly. After all, Qin Yu had only returned for a few days. Qin Yu shook his head and said helplessly, "I can't. I already know the place where the Deshang stage cultivators of the Purple Mystic Star ascended. That place is controlled by an enemy of mine in the immortal devil and demon realm." "Little Yu, you mean?" Qin Zheng's expression changed. Qin Yu nodded and said solemnly, "That's right. What I'm most worried about is that person finding trouble with my father and big brother. If that's the case, then things would be really bad." Qin Zheng was also somewhat worried. "Little Yu, is that enemy very powerful?" "She's all right. However, my father and them are unable to contend against her. I hope that she hasn't noticed my father and big brother yet." Qin Yu recalled the hateful expression of the Mystic Emperor when she left. The death of Emperor Yu, the Mystic Emperor would definitely blame it on him. Thinking of this, Qin Yu couldn't help but become even more anxious. "Okay, since that's the case, I won't stop you. Little Yu, no matter what, you must protect my father and big brother," Qin Zheng said anxiously. "Second brother, even if you don't say it, I know. They are your father and big brother. They are also my father and big brother," Qin Yu comforted. Before leaving, Qin Yu also had a few things to arrange. Qin Yu entrusted Qin Zheng. "Second brother, I'll leave everything in the mortal realm to you. Now that you have those two 12th tribulation loose demons as your spirit beasts, there shouldn't be any problems. However, once you ascend, those two spirit beasts will also ascend. Thus I still have to give you something." Qin Zheng couldn't help but look at Qin Yu. With a thought from Qin Yu, a figure emerged from Qin Yu's body and landed beside him. It was the sword immortal puppet that Uncle Lon had given him back then. The strongest offensive power of the sword immortal puppet was only a level 9 golden immortal. Only its defense was slightly stronger. But for the current Qin Yu, it was not that useful anymore. This is the sword immortal puppet. From today onwards, this sword immortal puppet shall become the inherited treasure of our Qin family in the mortal realm. Regardless of who it is, before ascending to the immortal devil and demon realm, They must pass this sword immortal puppet to the next great elder of the Qin family. Qin Yu said. The Qin clan's clan head was replaced every 100 years, so the clan head was changed relatively quickly. However, the position of Great Elder could not be changed. Only when the previous Great Elder ascended would there be a new Great Elder. Sword Immortal Puppet. Qin Zheng looked curiously at the Sword Immortal Puppet. Little you, is this a human's body? You could say that. However, this was something that Uncle Lon had refined and given to me back then. It's just that for the current me, this Sword Immortal Puppet no longer has any use. Qin Yu said with a smile. This Sword Immortal Puppet requires top-grade elemental spirit stones in order to use it. Here are 150 top-grade elemental spirit stones. Regarding the usage of the Sword Immortal Puppet, you can learn all about it. Qin Yu handed over a middle-grade immortal artifact spatial ring. This spatial ring was something that Qin Yu had obtained in Ni Yang's realm. This spatial ring contains top-grade elemental spirit stones as well as the method to use the Sword Immortal Puppet. Qin Yu entrusted. Qin Zheng immediately received the spatial ring. After dripping a drop of blood on it, Qin Zheng took out the jade slip from the spatial ring. With a sweep of his spiritual awareness, he completely understood everything that was within it. This Sword Immortal Puppet. Knowing the power of the Sword Immortal Puppet, Qin Zheng could not help but be shocked. Heavens! With the Sword Immortal Puppet, the Qin family was simply invincible in the mortal realm. Second brother, the existence of this Sword Immortal Puppet should only be known by a few generations of elders. Do not spread it out. Otherwise, my Qin family's disciples would all be too arrogant. That would also lose my original intention. Qin Yu continued. Unless it is a critical moment, this Sword Immortal Puppet absolutely cannot be used. Although I have kept a lot of top-grade elemental spirit stones, I still have to consider for the future. Qin Zheng nodded and said with a smile. Don't worry, little you. Your second brother has been an emperor for dozens of years in the past. I know what to do. This Sword Immortal Puppet, unless it is a critical moment for my Qin family, absolutely cannot be used. Only then did Qin Yu feel relieved. Those two spirit beasts have also been arranged. This Sword Immortal Puppet is also given to you. Now I can be at ease. Qin Yu tried his best to squeeze out a smile. Second brother, I have to go. Qin Zheng held onto Qin Yu's shoulders and stared at Qin Yu. Don't be like this. Qin Yu squeezed out a smile and said, we'll have the opportunity to meet again in the future. After saying that, Qin Yu moved and appeared in the sky. Little you. Qin Zheng looked at Qin Yu's figure in the sky. His eyes were somewhat red. Qin Yu turned around and took a glance. He smiled and then disappeared in the sky. With a greater teleportation, Qin Yu returned to the spatial channel. Through the spatial channel that was similar to a black hole, Qin Yu returned to the bewitching god temple in the immortal devil and demon realm. Right after Qin Yu entered the courtyard from the central transfer palace, the housekeeper of the bewitching god temple, Uncle Fu, appeared. Qin Yu, you're leaving, Uncle Fu said with a beaming smile. Qin Yu nodded. Uncle Fu, the next time I come here, it will be the time when I take over the bewitching god temple. I'm also looking forward to that day. Being here all by myself, I'm also reminiscing about the time I spent in the divine realm. Uncle Fu's gaze was misty. It was as if he was reminiscing about the days of the past. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Is Uncle Fu really not a human? Seems like this Uncle Fu has emotions, thoughts and so on. The ability of the divine realm to refine puppets was indeed beyond imagination. Uncle Fu, farewell. Qin Yu bid farewell to Uncle Fu. Uncle Fu nodded and said with a smile. Qin Yu, there's no need for you to go through so much trouble when you leave. With your strength and the might of the high-quality heavenly divine artifact, divine spear waning snow, you're more than capable of breaking open the seals on those two passages. Although Qin Yu had obtained the high-quality heavenly divine artifact, divine spear waning snow, he had never truly used it. Qin Yu had already experienced the might of the seals on those 2 passages. Who would have thought that he, who was only able to barely shake the seals on the passages in the past, would be able to easily break them now that he possessed the divine spear waning snow? One could easily determine how much his attack power had increased by. There's no need for me to use the divine spear waning snow in the immortal, devil and demon realm, Qin Yu said with a light smile. After he finished saying those words, Qin Yu walked out of the courtyard and entered the front palace. Following the front palace's corridor, Qin Yu walked out of the bewitching god temple with ease and familiarity. He flew into the misty illusion barrier. Go straight ahead, there's no need to worry about the illusion barrier outside. Uncle Fu stood at the entrance of the bewitching god temple and said to Qin Yu. Qin Yu nodded. Wherever Qin Yu's figure passed by, a path actually appeared in the illusion barrier. Qin Yu continued to fly at a rapid speed. In a very relaxed and fast manner, he passed through this enormous illusion barrier. It's time to go find Royal Father. Qin Yu looked at the seal on the entrance of the bewitching god temple and muttered, times immortal realm, flowing spring galaxy. The fish sun star was the core planet of the flowing spring galaxy. This place was extremely flourishing. As the place where many mortal realms planets ascended, there were a lot of small sects and schools on the fish sun star. Clear Void Monastery, Purple Sun Sect, Heavenly South Sect. In short, there were a lot of small sects and powers here. Of course, the core power was still one of the 3 big shots of the immortal realm, the Mystic Emperor's troops. 9 Amplification Sect, the largest sect on the Fish Sun Star. Their sect master was an important subordinate of the Mystic Emperor. With the strength of a level 4 immortal emperor, the 9 Amplification Sect's sect master was able to look down on the entire flowing spring galaxy. In a restaurant on the Fish Sun Star City, 2 people were currently sitting. Brother Feng, where do you think you is? Said a middle-aged man sitting on the left. This middle-aged man was Qin Yu's father, the East-vanquishing Prince Qin Da. And the person sitting across from him was Fenjiuzi. The person widely rumored to be extremely powerful, the person who suppressed Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor, is also called Qin Yu. Say, could they be the same person? Said Qin Da with a frown. Fenjiuzi said indifferently. Brother Qin, you and I have known each other for so many years. You're also a calm and steady person. Why is it that when it comes to little you, you become muddle-headed? What is the strength of that Qin Yu who suppressed Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor? He definitely has the strength of a level 9 immortal emperor. How many years has it been since little you ascended? Furthermore, that Qin Yu's most glorious time was over 3,000 years ago. At that time, little you had only ascended for several hundred years. To possess the strength of a level 9 immortal emperor in merely several hundred years. Is that even possible? That's right, I'm muddle-headed. Qin Da laughed at himself. Little Yu's talent is indeed pretty good. However, it is unlikely for him to possess that kind of speed. Furthermore, the Mystic Emperor and his 9 Amplification Sect have treated us very well. Sighed Fenjiuzi. If that legendary Qin Yu is little you, then how could the Mystic Emperor and the 9 Amplification Sect treat us so well? Qin Da nodded. Sighed, there are too many people in the immortal devil and demon realm. The population of a single planet is in the billions or even more. There are countless planets like this. A person by the name of Qin Yu could be found in the thousands on a single planet, much less the entire immortal devil and demon realm. Finding little you is truly difficult. Qin Da heaved a long sigh. Fenjiuzi lightly smiled and said, rest assured, with little Yu's temperament, he would definitely not be unknown. Wait until he becomes famous, then you'll naturally be able to find him. That's true. Come, let's drink. Qin Da no longer thought about it and immediately raised his cup. Oh, what a great joke. On another table in the restaurant, a youth was laughing loudly. He then pointed at Qin Da and Fenjiuzi. These two actually said that Senior Qin Yu is their little Yu. two nobodies who are merely heavenly immortals actually vainly attempted to befriend Senior Qin Yu. Truly. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. An immortal at the same table as this youth sneered. Enough, there's no need to waste words with two heavenly immortals. If they want to dream, then let them dream. The two of you listen up. At the corner of the restaurant, a black-clothed man glanced at Qin De and Fenjuzi. He coldly said, "In the future, do not say that Qin Yu is some little you. Senior Qin Yu is not someone the likes of you can casually talk about." Clearly, this black-clothed man belonged to the group of people who worshipped Qin Yu. Given Qin Yu's strength, there were indeed many people who worshipped Qin Yu in the immortal realm. This black-clothed man who seemed to be very powerful was clearly one of those people as well. Hearing this, Qin De frowned. "Brother Feng, let's go back," Qin De said to Fenjuzi. Fenjuzi could also sense the disdain the people in the restaurant had for them. He immediately nodded. The two of them were only heavenly immortals. In a core planet like the Fish Sun Star, they were definitely considered weak. Any random immortal would be able to trample the two of them. They could only endure. "Shut up." Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. A purple-clothed old man walked up from the staircase. The purple-clothed old man coldly swept his gaze across the people in the restaurant. After that, his gaze was cast toward the black-clothed man. "A second elder." Immediately, three people in the restaurant stood up and said respectfully. The owner of the restaurant also stood out. "So it's actually Lord Second Elder of the Nine Amplification sect. Second Elder, please come in." That restaurant owner promptly said. The second elder said coldly, "All of you listen carefully. Qin De and Fenjuzi are our Nine Amplification sect's honored guests. If the two of you dare to speak rudely in the future, it would be the same as insulting our Nine Amplification sect. Do you hear me?" The two immortals who were arrogant earlier immediately grew silent. As for that black-clothed man, he also turned his head around and did not say anything else. In terms of strength, this black-clothed man was still no match for the level 9 golden immortal second elder. "Brother Qin De, I'm sorry to have let these two people disturb you." "Sigh, Brother Qin De, didn't I tell you before? In the future, if you want to eat, go to the restaurants under our Nine Amplification sect. There will definitely be no one who would dare to disturb the two of you." This second elder looked at Qin De and immediately became very amiable. Qin De hurriedly said, "Second elder, there's no need for that. We've already troubled your Nine Amplification sect enough. To even have to eat in your restaurants, we truly feel apologetic." "What are you saying? Brother Qin De, you're regarding us as outsiders. As long as you treat our Nine Amplification sect as your home on this Fish Sun Star, no one would dare to not give our Nine Amplification sect face," this second elder said arrogantly. Immediately after, he turned to Qin De and said amiably, "Brother Qin De, come to my place to play. Few days ago I played a game of chess with you. I was somewhat unwilling to accept my loss. Today I will definitely win it back." Qin De and Fenjuzi glanced at each other. In the end they stood up. And right at this moment, a black-clothed youth suddenly appeared in the center of the restaurant. His long robe fluttered without any wind and his pitch-black long hair scattered about. Everyone in the restaurant, including that level 9 golden immortal second elder, felt a burst of pressure coming from their souls. Everyone felt a burst of fear. It was so much that their hands and feet felt weak. "Who is this person?" The second elder looked to this black-clothed youth who had suddenly appeared with fear. The second elder even felt that the immortal elemental energy within his body had become chaotic and uncontrollable. You are." Qin De looked to the person before him. For a moment, he did not dare to recognize him. Merely the aura emitted by this black-clothed youth was capable of causing the immortal elemental energy within a level 9 golden immortal to become chaotic. This sort of strength, it was likely that even level 8 or 9 immortal emperors would not be able to match him. The black-clothed youth looked to Qin De and Fenjuzi. He displayed a smile on his face. Royal Father, Uncle Feng. You're really little you. Fenjuzi also looked to Qin Yu in shock. Chapter 470. Qin De looked at the black-gowned youth before him. His appearance was so similar to his son's. However, that astonishing strength. One only needed to look at the deathly pale 9 amplification second elder to know that. However, the feeling that originated from his heart was extremely clear. You Qin De finally called out. Royal Father, I've finally found you. Qin Yu also had an excited smile on his face. However, after training to this point, there were very few things that could cause Qin Yu's heart to fluctuate like this. Fenjuzi also tried his best to swallow twice and said in a pleasantly surprised manner, Little Yu, could it be that you're really that legendary Qin Yu? Seeing Qin Yu's strength, he started to believe it. Qin Yu turned around and looked at the people in the restaurant. He couldn't help but frown slightly. He then said to Qin De and Fenjuzi cordially, Royal Father, Uncle Feng, let's leave this place first. We can slowly talk after that. Cough cough, this senior Qin Yu, you're really. That 9 amplification second elder addressed Qin Yu's father as brothers. However, when he saw Qin Yu, he instead addressed him as senior Qin Yu. This was truly amusing. However, time did not have much meaning to cultivators. After training for 100 million years, if one was still only a golden immortal, even if one were to meet an immortal emperor who had trained for several hundred years, one would still have to respectfully address him as senior. In this place, one's strength was what mattered. Oh, you are. Qin Yu looked at this 9 amplification second elder. He saw that this person seemed to have a pretty good relationship with his father. This junior is the 9 amplification second elder. That 9 amplification second elder hurriedly said. Someone from the 9 amplification sect. Qin Yu frowned. On the interstellar map that he had obtained from the Dragon Clan, there was an explanation of the powers on every planet. Qin Yu knew very well that this 9 amplification sect was originally subordinate to Emperor Yu. Right now, it was a sect under the Mystic Emperor. No matter what sort of conspiracy before absolute strength, it's all child's play. Qin Yu, on the other hand, was not worried in the slightest. With his current strength, especially after obtaining the high-quality heavenly divine artifact, the divine spear waning snow, in the entire immortal devil and demon realm, there was absolutely no one capable of blocking a single spear strike from him. Even if he didn't use a high-quality heavenly divine artifact and merely relied on his comprehension of the spatial laws, his strength would be comparable to the Gold Punishment Lord, Black Flame Lord, White Profound Lord and the others. Qin Yu stopped thinking about it. Father, Uncle Feng, let's leave this place first. I haven't seen Big Brother for a long time. Xiaolu, Dashan and the others are also here, right? Qin Yu said with a smile. In front of his relatives, Qin Yu's smile was always so warm and sincere. Qin De nods and says with a sigh, Right, let's go back. Your big brother has been talking about you for a long time. Qin Yu didn't know where the Qin clan was staying. He could only follow his father and Uncle Feng. The 3 of them flew out of the restaurant and rushed towards the Qin clan's residence. As for the 9 amplification second elder, he took out his transmission spiritual pearl and sent a message. After that, the 9 amplification second elder also flew out of the restaurant. Only after Qin Yu left the restaurant for a long time did the people in the restaurant manage to catch their breath. That man from earlier, he's so frightening. An immortal's complexion was still somewhat pale. The black-clothed man at the corner of the restaurant stared at the location where Qin Yu flew out from. He was shocked. His strength is even stronger than my master's, much stronger. Could it be that he really is senior Qin Yu? The conversation between Qin Yu, Qin De and Fenjuzi earlier, as well as the conversation between Qin De and Fenjuzi at the beginning, was something that the majority of the people in the restaurant knew. Merely from the conversation and Qin Yu's strength earlier, practically everyone came to a conclusion that the black-clothed youth from earlier was the legendary immortal Emperor Qin Yu. Earlier, we were cursing Senior Qin Yu's family. The two immortals that had reprimanded Qin De earlier looked to each other and began to sweat cold sweat. Qin Yu followed behind Qin De and Fenjiuzi. After flying for quite some time, they finally landed near a manor. The walls surrounding this manor alone were several thousand meters long. Even on the Fish Sun planet, this manor was considered a rather luxurious and extravagant manor. In particular, this manor was located within a city. Generally speaking, without sufficient strength, one would not be able to own such a manor. Qin Yu's group of 3 landed outside the manor's gates. When the 2 servants guarding the gates saw Qin De's group, they hurriedly called out respectfully, "Master!" Qin De immediately smiled and pulled Qin Yu into the enormous manor. "Royal Father, this is where you and Big Brother live?" Qin Yu asked, puzzled. Given the strength of his father and Big Brother, how could they own such a large manor on the core planet, the Fish Sun planet? But Qin De laughed and nodded. "Actually, this is your Auntie Feng's manor as well. However, after your Auntie Feng and your Uncle Feng became Dao companions, we were able to live in this manor as well." Qin Yu couldn't help but laugh as he looked at Fenjiuzi. "Uncle Feng, congratulations." Fenjiuzi couldn't help but stroke his beard and smile. "This is fate. I spent so many years in the mortal realm, but I never imagined that I would have a day like this, much less that I would be able to meet your Auntie Feng. The heavens have treated me quite well. Don't be so smug. Come, let's talk in the main hall," Qin De said with a laugh. Qin Yu's group of 3 continued forward. Within the manor, there was an enormous pond, and above the pond was an arched bridge. After crossing the bridge, they followed a winding corridor for a while before arriving at the main hall where guests were received. "Tell the young master and the others to come to the main hall." Qin De laughed as he spoke to the servant outside the main hall. "Yes, master." The servant immediately left. Qin Yu's group of 3 took their seats. Big Brother doesn't seem to be in the manor. With a sweep of his divine awareness, Qin Yu discovered that among the people he knew in the manor, only little Jade was present. Even Tai Shan wasn't present. Qin Yu was not in a hurry to call little Jade. Since little Jade was about to come over, there was no need for him to be impatient. Qin De was startled. He said, "Not here. I don't know about that. However, don't worry. Your big brother isn't in the manor. He's definitely somewhere in the city. I've already ordered people to call them. The housekeeper will inform them through the transmission spiritual pearl." Qin Yu nodded his head. How have you been all these years? Also, not long after I arrived in the immortal realm, I heard about an extremely exceptional expert, also called Qin Yu. Could it be that he's really you?" Even now, Qin De still couldn't believe it. Fenjiuzi also looked at Qin Yu. "Little Yu, I've heard that that person had once killed 26 immortal emperors in succession. In the end, even Emperor Yu fled in defeat. Furthermore, on the planet where the Saiyan Emperor was undergoing his tribulation, he had also once displayed astonishing strength. It was said that he was a level 9 immortal emperor." Qin Yu laughed at himself and said, "The more the rumors spread, the more outrageous they become. Although many things could be considered true, they were also not like what the outside world said. Back then, my strength was also not that exaggerated." "You're really..." Hearing Qin Yu's tone, Fenjiuzi and Qin Yu felt that Qin Yu seemed to have admitted that he was that person. Qin Yu nodded his head and said, "That's right. But at that time, how many years had it been since you ascended?" Fenjiuzi was terrified of his own thoughts. How long had it been since Qin Yu ascended? He actually killed 26 immortal emperors in succession. Qin Yu shook his head and smiled. "No, actually, the person who killed 26 immortal emperors in succession was not me. It was someone else." "Oh, that's what I said. Little Yu, although you're a genius, you've only ascended for 100 or 200 years. How could you possibly kill 26 immortal emperors in succession?" Fenjiuzi suddenly realized. Qin De frowned and asked. At that time, who saved you and killed 26 immortal emperors? Saved? Not really. It was mainly because I had the divine tool, 10,000 Beasts Atlas. The 10,000 Beasts Atlas has 3 layers. The first layer is for heavenly demon-level spirit beasts. The second layer is for demon king-level spirit beasts. The third layer is for demon emperor-level spirit beasts. At that time I finally reached the immortal emperor level, so I finally opened the third layer of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Then, I ordered an extremely powerful demon emperor to kill those people. Qin Yu spoke the truth in front of his relatives. Fenjuzi stared and pointed at Qin Yu. He was unable to say a word. You. Uncle Fenjuzi. Qin Yu looked at Fenjuzi in confusion. After a while, Fenjuzi recovered and said, Little Yu, you said you reached the immortal emperor level at that time. That's right. If I did not reach that level, how could I open the third layer of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas? Qin Yu said with a light smile. Only now did he understand why Fenjuzi was shocked. At that time, he had indeed only ascended for 100+ years. To reach the immortal emperor level in 100+ years was indeed shocking. Someone said that you fought against Emperor Yu on the planet where the Saiyan Emperor underwent his tribulation. You even fought against him. Qin De took a deep breath and looked at his son, who seemed to be filled with miracles with anticipation. Qin Yu nodded and said with a smile. That's right. During the battle on the reef Yellow Star, I was no match for Emperor Yu. However, when the Saiyan Emperor underwent his tribulation, even though Emperor Yu had reached level 9 Immortal Emperor at that time, I was no longer inferior to him. When the Saiyan Emperor underwent his tribulation, Qin Yu had only ascended for several hundred years, not even 1,000 years. Fenjuzi and Qin De took a glance at each other. Was this still their third son, who they thought to have no future when he was still a child? Just when Fenjuzi and Qin De were about to say something, suddenly, Big Brother Yu! A clear and melodious voice sounded. A sweet-tempered beautiful woman happily ran in. Little Lu. When Qin Yu saw the person who came in, he was unable to refrain his happiness. Little Lu was his childhood playmate. Right after Little Lu came in, a group of people immediately rushed in. Some of these people appeared to be old, some appeared to be young, and some appeared to be youths. However, without exception, this group of people all had eyes filled with excitement. After this group of people came in, their gazes were all cast toward the only stranger, Qin Yu. He was the person who had contributed the most to the rise of the Qin clan in the cultivation world. In the history of the mortal realm, his achievements had practically become a miracle. When the Qin clan's descendants heard about this utmost supreme third elder, they were all filled with adoration toward Qin Yu. To be able to see Qin Yu today, all of them were excited. In their hearts, they clearly remembered Qin Yu's achievements. Unable to train in internal techniques, he relied on external techniques to reach the Xiantian realm and became the first expert in the Hidden Dragon continent to reach the Xiantian realm through external techniques. At the age of 20, he entered the ranks of cultivators. After entering the overseas cultivation world in a short few years, he established the Stellar Pavilion and became the overlord of the overseas cultivation world with several 100,000 Zuyuists under his command. 9 Swords Immortal Mansion, Chaotic Astral Ocean, Ting-Long Continent. They all remembered Qin Yu's stories very clearly. Great-grandfather, is he third grandfather? A youth quietly said to Qin De. Qin De nodded. He then looked to Qin Yu. These are the descendants of our Qin clan that have ascended in the past 4,000 years. They are only half of them. There are still quite a few of them outside with your big brother. Qin Yu nodded. He then looked to the group of Qin clan's descendants. In the sky above the Fish Sun Star City, a group of people were rapidly flying. The person leading them was precisely Qin Feng. Among this group of people from the Qin clan in the immortal realm, Qin Feng's prestige was second only to Qin De. Little Yu actually came. Qin Feng's eyes were filled with ecstasy. All of you fly faster. Qin Feng turned around and shouted. The group of people behind him immediately tried their best to fly even faster. At this moment, over a dozen people flew up from below. The person leading them was a white-clothed youth. This white-clothed youth led over a dozen people and flew to Qin Feng's side. He asked, "Grandfather, why did you send me such an urgent message?" In truth, that housekeeper had only sent a message to Qin Feng, Tai Shan and the other leaders. As for the other juniors, Qin Feng and the others would naturally inform them. "Your third grandfather is here," Qin Feng said. "Grandfather, you said?" That white-clothed youth had an expression of disbelief. A woman behind Qin Feng said with a smile, "Little Nan, that's right, your third grandfather is here. Didn't you always tell me how much you admire your third grandfather? You even said how much you wanted to see him after ascending to the immortal realm. Mother, is it really the utmost supreme third elder?" Qin Nan asked again. "Why would mother lie to you?" That woman said with a smile. Qin Nan's eyes immediately burst forth with ecstasy. "Grandfather, quick, let's go. I won't wait for you." After saying that, Qin Nan's speed immediately increased. He turned into a ray of light and left Qin Feng far behind in an instant. Qin Feng's grandson, Qin Nan, was currently the strongest person in the Qin clan. He could also be considered as an outstanding genius. His cultivation speed was also extremely shocking. Little Nan, this child. Qin Feng felt a little helpless. Then, he couldn't resist the desire to see his own brother. He said to Tai Shan, who was beside him, "Brother Tai Shan, you lead everyone. I'll go back first." Qin Feng no longer suppressed his speed. He immediately increased his speed to the fastest as he rushed back to the manor. However, his speed was still slightly slower than Qin Nan's. It was bustling with activity. Currently, a large group of people had gathered in the main hall of the Qin clan's manor. The Qin clan's manor had never been so lively before. This group of people would occasionally look at Qin Yu. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and admiration. However, in this large group of people, most of them didn't dare to speak to Qin Yu. Only those who were braver would go up and speak to Qin Yu. As for the others, they would look at the people who spoke to Qin Yu with envy. The number of people in the main hall continued to increase. "Brother Yang, is that really the third supreme elder?" Some of the younger disciples of the Qin clan were discussing at the edge of the main hall. "Yes, that's the third supreme elder. If only the third supreme elder could talk to me and smile at me," said the young man beside him. "Then go ahead. A few people have already gone up to talk to the third supreme elder. The third supreme elder is still very nice." "No, I don't dare." The young man seemed to be a little timid and embarrassed. "Great-grandfather," a voice suddenly echoed in the main hall. A figure immediately rushed into the main hall. It was Qin Nan, who had rushed over at an extremely fast speed. Qin Yu couldn't help but notice the young man who had rushed in. Judging from his strength, he was a level 1 golden immortal. He was definitely the strongest person in the entire Qin clan. "Little Nan, this is your third grandfather, Qin Yu." Qin Da patted Qin Nan's head affectionately. Qin Da lovingly stroked Qin Nan's head. Qin Nan also obediently stood beside Qin Da. Only he was secretly looking at Qin Yu. Seeing that Qin Yu was looking at him with a beaming smile, as if he was caught stealing something, Qin Nan's face immediately turned red. "Ah, little Nan, you're blushing." Qin Da was shocked. He then looked at Fenjiuzi beside him. "Brother Feng, to think that little Nan would have a time when he blushes. Truly, the sun has risen from the west." To suddenly see the idol that he had worshipped for several thousand years, it was normal for him to feel nervous. "Little Yu, this is Big Brother's grandson, Little Nan. He is the one with the best talent in our Qin clan." I'm wrong. He's second only to you," Qin Da said while laughing. When he thought of Qin Yu's cultivation speed, even with Qin Da's temperament, he couldn't help but smack his lips. In merely a few hundred years, he was already comparable to a level 9 immortal emperor. Emperor Yu. He actually had such a son. The heavens were truly generous to him, Qin Da. Little Yu. A loud and clear voice sounded in the main hall. Big brother. Qin Yu suddenly stood up. At the doorway of the main hall stood a robust young man. His appearance was 70% similar to Qin Yu's. The only difference was that he was 2% more boorish than Qin Yu. The two brothers looked at each other. The hot blood in each other's body began to surge. They were blood brothers. Qin Yu and Qin Feng suddenly hugged each other before letting go. How many years has it been? After being in the immortal realm for so many years, I've finally met you. Ha! Today is truly a joyous day. Qin Feng couldn't help but laugh loudly. Big brother, today is also the happiest day I've ever had in the immortal realm. Qin Yu also felt his heart heating up. And at this moment, a beautiful woman walked in. Brother Feng, I've heard that your nephew, Qin Yu, is here? Fenjuzi immediately stood up and walked to the side of this beautiful woman with a face full of smiles. He pulled this beautiful woman's hand and walked to Qin Yu's side. Little Yu, this is your Aunt Feng, Lian Yu. She's also someone I met in the immortal realm. Lian Yu. Who is Xian Shi to you? Qin Yu looked at this Lian Yu. His gaze grew cold. With Qin Yu's strength, he was able to tell with a single glance that this Lian Yu, before him, trained in the same martial technique as Xian Shi. Mystic Emperor is precisely Lian Yu's master. This beautiful woman called Lian Yu smiled and said, Master knows about the news of your arrival, Qin Yu. I reckon that she's about to arrive at the Fish Sun Star. Fenjiuzi said confusedly, Lian Yu, your master. Isn't your master the benefactor who saved all of our lives? The senior expert of the 9 amplification sect. Brother Qin Yu, I've come to congratulate you after knowing that you've reunited with your father and the others. I'm truly sorry. A voice faintly resounded within the main hall. At the same time, a white-clothed woman walked in. Master. This Lian Yu immediately said respectfully. So it's our benefactor. Qin Da hurriedly stood up. Qin Yu frowned. This white-clothed woman was precisely the mystic Emperor Xian Shi, who had a great enmity with him. Chapter 471. Xian Shi's arrival caused the Qin family disciples in the main hall to stand to the side and not make a sound. As for Qin Da, he walked over respectfully and said, Benefactor and my son are old acquaintances. Old acquaintances. That's right, I am indeed acquainted with your son, Qin Yu. Xian Shi said with a smile. Immediately after, her gaze turned toward Qin Yu. Qin Yu slightly frowned. What was this Xian Shi trying to do? From the looks of it, this Xian Shi ought to have already found his royal father and the others. If Xian Shi wanted to kill them, she would have done so long ago. Why didn't she kill them? Instead, she treated them so courteously. Little Yu, earlier you said that your benefactor was the mystic emperor. What's going on? Fenjuzi asked. At this moment, Fenjuzi's brows were tightly knitted. It was obvious that he was distressed. Who didn't know about the grudges between Qin Yu and Emperor Yu? However, the mystic emperor and Emperor Yu were husband and wife. After Emperor Yu died, the mystic emperor treated Qin Yu's family so well. She even married her beloved disciple to Fenjiuzi. As long as one had a brain, they would be able to tell that something was amiss. Mystic Emperor. Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. How did you conceal your identity and become my family's benefactor? I wonder if you would be able to explain it to me. When Xian Shi mentioned this, she had a bitter smile on her face. Qin Yu, earlier I did not tell your father and the others my true identity. The main reason was because I did not want them to make wild guesses. Qin De, Qin Feng, Fenjiuzi and the others were all standing to the side. They were quietly watching Qin Yu and the Mystic Emperor's conversation. Wild guesses. Mystic Emperor, you have protected so many people of my Qin family. My Qin family is indebted to you. I truly want to thank you. However, to be honest, Mystic Emperor, I truly do not understand why you would do such a thing. Qin Yu said calmly. The mystic emperor shook her head and said in disappointment and frustration. If I were to say that I had completely repented, would you believe me? Qin Yu was stunned. Completely repented. How could Qin Yu possibly believe that? An expert who had reached the 9th grade immortal sovereign level would definitely have an unwavering understanding of right and wrong, hatred and enmity. They would even change and repent of their own beliefs. It was almost impossible for a person with such weak mental fortitude to reach the 9th grade immortal sovereign realm. Of course, it wasn't impossible for him to repent. But who was he to the mystic the Arch? The leader of a major force in the immortal world would be an empress in the mortal world. How could such a person repent? The mystic the Arch did not wait for Qin Yu to speak as he continued. Qin Yu, I originally did not have any enmity with you. However, because of my husband, Feng Yu, I eventually became your enemy. That time, when Feng Yu was killed by that expert under your command, I was furious and wanted to kill you. Qin Yu did not make a sound. His eyes locked onto the mystic the Arch as he continued to listen. But then you disappeared, and as time passed, the hatred slowly faded. I, Xian Shi, am also a 9th grade immortal sovereign. I will not be blinded by hatred. When I was fully awake, I realized something. From the beginning to the end, it was Feng Yu who forced you, vainly trying to obtain your divine artifact. This led to his death. Xian Shi smiled indifferently. In fact, Feng Yu's death allowed me to have no more worries. Now that I am wholeheartedly pursuing the Tao, my soul realm has also improved rapidly. As for you, I also do not want to be entangled with you. Therefore, I can only bestow you a favor and hope that we can end the enmity between us. Qin Yu scanned with his divine sense. The last time they met, the mystic Thearka's soul realm had just entered level 9 immortal sovereign realm. But now it was almost consolidated. This cultivation speed was indeed fast. But even so, was the mystic Thearka's words true? Can I trust her? Qin Yu asked himself. Or trust the mystic the Arch for now? Qin Da's immortal sense transmission suddenly rang in Qin Yu's mind. After hearing it, Qin Yu's heart calmed down. Although his royal father's martial power was not high, his judgment and handling of matters was much higher than his own. His royal father must have his reasons for making such a decision. Qin Yu immediately sighed. Sigh, mystic the Arch, if Emperor Yu was as sensible as you are now, then there wouldn't have been such a series of things between me and Emperor Yu, and Emperor Yu wouldn't have died. Feng Yu's death was his own doing. Actually, he had already completely sunk into his heart's devil. It was useless for anyone to persuade him. As his wife, I could only help him at that time. Xian Shi sighed. Qin Da laughed out loud. Haha, good. It's good that Senior Mystic the Arch and my son's enmity has been settled. Senior Mystic the Arch, let's attend the banquet in this courtyard today. My pleasure. The Mystic the Arch smiled and nodded. Her eyebrows were like the moon, her eyes were like autumn water, and her white clothes were fluttering in the wind. This mystic the Arch indeed possessed a moving temperament. The banquet. Qin Da, Fenjiuzi, Qin Feng, Qin Yu. A group of Qin clan's disciples, Mystic the Arch, 9 amplification sect master, Great Elder, Second Elder and other people had all arrived. The courtyard was bustling with noise and excitement. The 9 amplification sect master, Great Elder and other people had also come to know that the legendary Qin Yu was actually a Qin clan's disciple. Although they were puzzled as to why the Mystic the Arch had not killed the Qin clan and instead treated them so courteously. However, the 9 amplification sect master and others did not dare to offend Qin Yu. All of them were extremely respectful, and their attitude towards Qin Da was much more sincere than before. Qin Yu, Qin Da, Fenjiuzi and his wife, Qin Feng, Mystic the Arch, 9 amplification sect master and Great Elder. These 8 people were seated at the same table. Ever since Xian Shi had revealed her identity in the hall, these Qin clan's disciples had been in a state of excitement. At this moment, at the other tables, those Qin clan's disciples were discussing the immortal realm's peak existence, the mystic the Arch, their pride, third supreme elder, Qin Yu, and some of the Qin clan's deeds in the immortal realm. Only today, the Qin clan's disciples were able to confirm that Qin Yu was the legendary Qin Yu. This caused this group of Qin clan's disciples who worshipped Qin Yu to become even more excited. Meanwhile, at Qin Yu's table, all of them were toasting each other with smiles on their faces. They were not as excited as the people at the other tables. Brother Qin Yu, your cultivation speed is the fastest I've ever seen or heard of in my entire life. After not seeing you for over 3,000 years, Brother Qin Yu's strength has become even more astonishing. I wonder what level Brother Qin Yu has reached now. She smiled as she looked at Qin Yu. At this moment, Qin De, Qin Feng, and the others were also looking at Qin Yu. Me. I reckon I'm not far away from undergoing the divine tribulation, Qin Yu said with a smile. Qin Yu could imagine that his soul's level had even surpassed ordinary deities. His cultivation base and fleshly body had already reached the 9th level. He was definitely in line with the requirements to undergo the divine tribulation. However, Qin Yu was unable to determine when the divine tribulation would descend. It can't be that the divine tribulation won't descend because I'm still at the middle stage of the origin, right? Qin Yu guessed in his heart. You're not far away from undergoing the divine tribulation. In that case, I must congratulate Brother Qin Yu, she immediately said. Qin De and the others did not ask any questions. Instead, they immediately changed the topic and talked about other things. After the banquet had ended, the mystic emperor also left with the people from the 9 Amplifications sect. Only then did Qin Yu, Qin Da, and Qin Feng arrive at a room. Only then did the 3 of them have a proper chat. The 3 of them sat around a small table and poured a cup of tea for each of them. Royal Father, earlier, you wanted me to believe in the mystic emperor? What's going on? Could it be that you think that everything the mystic emperor said was true? In the room, Qin Yu immediately asked the question in his heart. Qin De held the teacup with both hands and said with a smile, No, I did not think that what he said was true. Then Royal Father Qin Yu frowned. Qin De shook his head and said, I did not believe that what the mystic emperor said was true. I also did not believe that what she said was false. There is simply no need to determine whether it's true or false. Little Yu, before that, let me tell you something first. There are 12 of our Qin clan's disciples who have Dao companions and wives in the immortal realm. There are also 3 Qin clan's women who have husbands. As for these Dao companions, wives and husbands, all of them are related to the mystic emperor. Qin De slowly said. Qin Yu's expression changed. The mystic emperor is indeed ruthless. Qin Yu felt that the mystic emperor was hard to deal with. There were not many Qin clan's disciples in the immortal realm to begin with. For 15 Qin clan's disciples to have Dao companions related to the mystic emperor all of a sudden, this matter was truly troublesome. If they were to deal with the mystic emperor, then what would those 15 Qin clan's disciples do? Qin Feng also nodded and said, My grandson Little Nan also has a pretty good relationship with a girl recently. According to what I know, that girl lives in the 9 Amplifications sect. Amazing, amazing. Qin Yu had a trace of anger in his heart. Now that the mystic emperor had used this move, even if Qin Yu wanted to deal with her, he would not be able to easily do so. There's no need to think too much about it. If that mystic emperor wanted to kill our Qin clan's people, she would have done so long ago. She would also not have dragged it out until now. Furthermore, the mystic emperor has indeed shown grace to our Qin clan. Qin De said. Grace? What grace? Qin Yu asked. Qin Feng spoke and said. Our Qin clan's clansmen that have ascended to the Fish Sun Star have all encountered dangers before. Even my royal father and I were the same. However, every single time we would be saved by the people from the 9 Amplifications sect. There was even one time when the mystic emperor personally came to save us. According to the words of the people from the Nine Amplifications sect, the reason why they protected us like this was because of the Mystic Emperor. Of course, in the past, they had only said that the Mystic Emperor was an expert with an extremely high status in their Nine Amplifications sect. Dangerous. This Mystic Emperor might have deliberately set up some dangerous situations. Qin Yu was instead filled with vigilance toward the Mystic Emperor. If the Mystic Emperor was sincere, then why would she allow so many women, and even men, to become the Dao companions of the Qin clan's children? That might be the case. However, I am certain that the Mystic Emperor has shown grace to our Qin clan. Furthermore, it's a very great grace. Qin De said solemnly. Or before that, let me tell you something. You'll understand. Royal Father, please speak. Qin Yu said. Qin De said. You should know that the people of the purple mystic star of the mortal realm, as long as they are immortal cultivators, would all ascend to the fish sun star. Furthermore, out of every 10 people that ascend to the fish sun star, over half of them would not even live past 100 years. Really? Qin Yu was astonished. He had never cared about this sort of thing before. Qin Feng nodded and said, "That's right. When they had just ascended, they were merely level 1 heavenly immortals. Level 1 heavenly immortals are considered to be at the bottom of the food chain on the fish sun star. However, because those people that ascended were all outstanding talents in the mortal realm, the majority of them would possess some treasures and the like. However, because the heavenly immortals of the fish sun star were too ordinary and their status was too low, their treasures were far inferior to the immortals that ascended. Thus, the immortals that ascended would generally be slaughtered by people with ulterior motives. Only now did Qin Yu come to understand. 5 out of 10 would die. This is the approximate ratio. The vast majority of them are like this. However, in all these years, not a single descendant of our Qin clan that ascended has died. Qin De said solemnly. Why is our Qin clan so special? It's precisely because of the protection of the Nine Amplifications sect and the secret orders of the Mystic Emperor. Even though some of the dangers that our Qin clan encountered were set up by the Mystic Emperor, some of them still exist normally. For other sects like the Clear Void Monastery, half of the people that ascended would die. Not a single one of us would die. I presume that you also understand the great grace that the Mystic Emperor has shown to our Qin clan. Qin De looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu slowly nodded. Regardless of what the Mystic Emperor wanted to do, it would appear that the Mystic Emperor had shown grace to the Qin clan. After all, if it wasn't for the protection of the Mystic Emperor, it would be hard to say whether or not his royal father and big brother would still be alive. That's why I said that there's no need to determine if the Mystic Emperor's words are true or false. When you weren't here, she didn't kill us. Now that you've returned, she would definitely not kill us. For her to do this, she definitely has her reasons. In the future, I believe that everything will come to light. Qin De advised. Qin Yu did not say anything. However, he was pondering in his heart. Qin De and Qin Feng glanced at each other. They did not disturb Qin Yu. If I were to directly kill the Mystic Emperor now, it could be considered as me repaying kindness with evil. However, my royal father and the others would definitely not agree to it. However, if I don't kill her, there's still the possibility that the Mystic Emperor might kill my royal father and the others. What should I do? Qin Yu pondered for a moment. Even if I were to kill the Mystic Emperor, how should I treat Uncle Feng's wife? How should I treat the Dao companions of the 15 children of my Qin clan? Qin Yu slowly shook his head. It would seem that I still cannot deal with the Mystic Emperor now. For the time being, I can only do this. Qin Yu had already made a decision in his heart. Royal Father, you should leave for a period of time. Come back soon. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he disappeared. Only Qin De and Qin Feng were left looking at each other in dismay. They could not help but wonder what exactly Qin Yu wanted to do. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.